about all of that before even recording the podcast.
Yeah, we just talked about everything we're going to talk about just so we could talk about
kind
it.
Kind of. We did a test run.
I thought that was just us talking.
No. I have no. Unless you want to put it on record that what we talked about on TikTok or whatever. But before we do that,
welcome back
to the Degenerates, your favorite place to see some or to hear
people
some hot takes
drunk.
And watch us drink as we have these normal conversations that we would be having at a bar. And now we're just having them at my house after we eat dinner and we're getting drunk off margaritas and gin and tonic. So welcome back. It was my birthday this week.
It was your birthday. Happy birthday.
It's my birthday this week. I'm the dirty 30.
30, flirty, and thriving.
Period.
That's right. It's a great movie,
Wow,
by
I
the way.
cannot believe that you're 30. That is so insane.
I've been waiting to be 30 for a very long time.
But I feel like
Since
you
I was
turning
20.
30 really puts things into perspective for me.
Why?
Because I'm like, damn, I have friends that are 30.
Yeah, you do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, before
And,
you,
like, it's not
before
just
you just
like-
had friends that were 28.
I know. And not like, oh, I know somebody who I'm very, like, no. Like, I'm like, this is like my best friend. You know what I mean? It's like, and he's 30?
Yeah.
How old am I? That's
To be
crazy.
fair, I was 18 hanging out with like grown-ass adults.
Yeah.
All the time.
I
So
know,
for me,
but
that is-
eventually, I was that too, but eventually I was like, oh, this is weird. They
You know
should not
what-
be
you know
hanging
what
out
made
with
me
me.
think about it?
You know what I mean?
I start picking out his gray hairs to try to find like gray hairs and trying to pull his gray hair to the front to make it. And I'm like, he's about to be a silver fox.
That would be cool. What if you're a silver
I can't
fox?
wait. First of all, by the time I have gray hairs everywhere, that's my Clooney years. So it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be fucking.
Yes.
I'm gonna be out of here with it.
I can't wait
But
for that.
Second of all, I've been waiting to be 30 because of one thing and one thing only. Right?
us.
Since when I was 18, I had a 30-year-old girlfriend. When I was 18, I was hanging around with a whole bunch of 30-year-olds. For as long as I could remember, people would say to me, "Oh, it's because you're young. Just wait till you're 30. Oh, it's because you're young. Just wait till you're 30." Well, guess what?
I'm 30 now, bitch.
I'm 30 now, and it feels fucking great. You were just doing it wrong. Oh, dumbass.
You better talk your shit.
You just didn't know what the fuck you were doing. You didn't want to do whatever it is you wanted to do and felt like shit at 30 because you...
Also, don't patronize me. I hate when people say that shit. I mean, I understand.
For
like,
real, don't fucking patronize
depending
people.
on the situation, I understand in some situations it's fair to be like, oh, you're just so young. Like, I get it.
Sure.
When you're older than them.
Yeah.
But I hate when people say that
It's
shit.
so
when people
annoying.
are like, oh, you're just young now. You're going to change your mind later. Because number one, no, I'm not. I'm stubborn. I will not be changing my fucking mind.
Just because of you,
Just
I will
out
not
of
do
you
it.
said that, and just out of spite, I'm gonna stick with that for the rest of my fucking life.
That's facts.
But number two, why are you saying it like you say it like that's something that I will be ashamed of?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, sure, I'm probably going to change my mind. Like, I might not. Number one, people change their mind sometimes, and that's fucking okay.
Yeah.
And number two, it doesn't matter. That's how I feel fucking right now. Why are you trying to convince me that I'm not gonna feel like that later? Later
Right.
is later. Right
Yeah.
now is right now. Right now I feel like this.
Couldn't agree more.
Hop off my
I would
dick.
always fucking get so annoyed because people would be like, or I just show up to rehearsal or something, and I'd be like, man, I'm fucking tired, and some fucking idiot in the back, just wait till you're 30. How about you just shut the fuck up?
Hey,
Because
wait till my 30.
if
Why?
if you're tired, then be tired. I'm tired, and I
Yeah.
decided to say that I'm tired. Just
You'd be
because
like,
I'm
what are you
21
what are you
doesn't mean
tired
I'm not
about?
allowed to be tired. Oh, dumbass! Chances are, maybe I just did more than you did yesterday, and that's why I'm tired.
Yeah.
The fuck out my face. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry for me being so passionate about it.
We
I'm
never
just trying
see
to-
this side
I'm
of
just trying to
Juan.
show you how energetic a 30-year-old could be, because people out here really think that 30-year-olds don't got it like that. So
That
Do
is
some jumping
mind
jacks.
blowing. Like I remember.
I said, do some jumping jacks.
do some fucking jumping jacks.
I'm
People-
talking to you. I'm
No,
talking to
she's
you.
telling you
Show
to
them
do
them
them right
show
now.
Them, show them all.
no,
That
no, no,
doesn't
no. You want me to do
count.
jumping jacks on
He's a
camera? No, I'm gonna come
coach.
back. I'm gonna come back like.
Wait till
that
they're 30.
blows my
I
mind
feel it.
now.
I'm 30.
Because I remember growing up being like a 30-year-old is an adult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your 20s is like you are legally an adult. Like you're an adult in a lot of ways, but you're not like the peak of adulthood. You know what I mean? It's like, but 30s is when you're like, this is like now you're an adult. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? There's no going back.
Well, this is what we
And
talked
now
about.
I'm like, That's a joke.
That's a joke. We kind of talked about that
What?
before.
Yeah, we talked about it before. But the second reason why I'm excited to turn 30, and you hit on it a little bit, is the fact that, you know how when you're a kid, maybe you're a teenager, maybe you're in your early 20s or something like that, and you're doing something questionable. Maybe you maybe you choose to do something that's a little off, maybe whatever, right? And or you may just be acting normal, right? Mm-hmm. And you see an adult acting questionable. You see an adult like fluster and like not have their shit together. And then they have to pretend that they have their shit together because they're adults hanging around like children or like in school or something like that, school especially. And then they're just like, no, what I say goes because I'm the adult in the room or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you as a kid or as a younger person, you're sitting there like, nah, son.
You are not qualified.
You don't have this together. You don't have this. I know more about this than you do currently. I promise you. I do.
I never felt like that.
That's shout out to the DARE program in elementary school.
To the what?
To the DARE program. The drug
I
whatever
didn't go
program.
to school here, but I am.
Yeah,
I
so that's
remember
what it was.
the t-shirts.
Like it was just what?
The AFE is not on.
Yeah, yes it is. I should have turned it on. Oh. Okay, we'll turn it on now.
I don't know if that does anything different.
Yeah.
What is that?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. But anyway, especially the DARE program, which is essentially fucking like a whole bunch of elementary school kids outside on the rec, on like the fucking basketball courts, and they teach you about like how to say no to drugs and like what happens whenever you take drugs and shit like that. And all of us in the fucking ghetto like, what?
You're going to school in second ward being like,
first
bitch,
of all,
this is how we make a living, okay?
It's like, first of all, that's not what cocaine does to you. That's one, okay? And just because this BMX biker is here about to do a flip doesn't make it any less true. You know what I mean? Like, get the fuck out of my face with that bullshit, right? So if you've been in those situations, then you know full well that in those situations, the younger person has no ammunition. You can't like go up to the older person and be like, you're
wrong about drugs.
Right? So now that I'm 30 and I qualify as, like you said, like the adult in the room, guess what? I'm a vouch for you younger kids. We don't know what the fuck we're doing. Sometimes you know more than we do
I don't know
about certain subjects.
Can I say, okay, I had a situation teaching a class of a bunch of, young students, and I really tried to be big on like, if I'm wrong and I like, I'm teaching something wrong or something.
Yeah.
And somebody brings it up, like let's say one of the students is like, oh no, you're wrong about that thing. Either I will recognize that I'm wrong if I know it in the moment, or I'll be like, let me look into this.
You're so brave.
And I really try to, but
never admit that I'm wrong.
And here's the thing.
You will not catch me slipping. I would take that shit to the fucking grave.
I had it, and that's what I've had like other adults do to me. I think I was in like 4th or 5th grade, and there was a teacher talking about, like, it was when I was like being introduced to slavery and stuff. And I had somehow knew about the fact that there had been Irish slaves as well. And I did not know the extent of all of it, but they were more indentured servants, which is a little bit different, right? They're like working for their freedom.
That's just gentrified slaves.
Yeah. So
indentured servitude is just gentrified slaves.
But are a monster. No.
That's all that is, guys.
I brought that up because I was like, oh no, there were like white slaves too. There were like Irish people, and I didn't realize how controversial that was at the time,
right,
being
you
that
were
young.
7.
Yeah, but
because you just told a whole bunch of white people that they were slaves before.
And well, my teacher,
were like, no, we were not.
My teacher was very like defensive about it, saying that like there weren't and this that, and she's like, okay, if that's the truth, then go and do a report on it. Like go and do it. And so I did a whole ass report.
she had receipts.
Let her go off, bitch.
And I brought it into her.
As you fucking should.
Yes.
Yeah, fuck it up.
I brought it into her, and then like she never said anything about it, and never like corrected herself.
Presented that shit to the class.
I was so mad. Honestly, I was like, let me read my report to the class.
Let me learn you something real quick.
So
I would have been like, I turned in my report because I was right, and then she never said anything about it to all my classmates.
Because of that situation. Because that situation, like I really do try to like correct when I'm wrong, or go and like, educate myself on a situation and make sure that I either am right in what I'm saying or that I correct what I'm saying. And then I will come back the next week and say like, oh, I was wrong about this. Let me correct what it was so that you guys have the right information. However, I had a parent like observation day where the parents were in the room watching
Absolutely
me teach
not.
their kids how to do this stuff. And I, at one point, taught them how to do, because I teach silks, and I was showing them like a wrap to get into a specific trick. And I was showing them it wrong that time. I had taught this to them multiple times the weeks before, trying to get them, and they were like, this isn't right. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. And I'm like, no, that's the rap. That's right. Can y'all shut up?
Oh
and
my
just
God,
like, and now I'm in front of, like,
no.
I'm arguing with the kids in front of their parents about this rap, and it took way too long. And then I was so embarrassed. Like, if the parents were not there, I'd have been like, oh wait, let me go over this again. Let me, like, you know, but because it's other adults that are the problem. It's not the kids.
Yes, it's other 30-year-olds that think that you should know and you don't. Fuck out of here.
Here's what I will say though. Like, I'll take it back. I do admit when I'm wrong, but here's why I'm able to, because most of the time I am right. And I'm not saying that because I'm like a genius that just like knows everything, but it's because I refuse to talk about shit that I don't know about. Like, if I don't know about something, I'll be like, well, I don't know enough about that. I mean, I might have an opinion, but it's not going to be an informed one. So why would I even say it? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It doesn't count. So if I am talking about something, I'm like, I know for a fucking fact that I am right. And if anybody tries to like test me on it, I'm like, okay, yeah, go ahead and look. Like, yeah, look. I mean, I could be wrong. Go ahead and look it up, just so that I can see their faces to be like, oh, you were right, and I can be like, oh, really? That's crazy.
That's what I mean. You get along so well.
Not very often do I have to be like, oh, damn, I was wrong. Okay, fair. But that's just because that's more of like, I just refuse to be wrong. So I don't even give anybody the chance to correct me, you know?
This is why you and I get along so well, because
We get along well?
Yeah, we get along pretty well.
All right. Okay, talk your shit.
We get along well.
We were arguing 10 minutes ago.
I'll restate the sentence. This is why I enjoy talking to you so much, because you have that perspective, and you were like, no, I'm dead set like this. And I have absolutely, contrary to other people's opinion of me, I have no problem being wrong. But I really enjoy pressing people and see how much they know about what they know.
That's fair. I also feel like you just don't, even if you're wrong, you don't back down from your opinions or like from your
I know that that's
point.
not the opinion that I actually have, but just to
I feel
play
like
devil's
opinions,
advocate.
It's trickier though, because opinions are like,
okay,
you know,
well,
whatever.
like let's just say it's like a controversial thing, or like some hot topic or whatever, and you said something that I find like, you know, just illogical or like just weird. I'll press you on it, and I'll be on the opposite side
and
of it.
I will explain
just so that like I could see if you could like work your way around it, or if you're just saying that to talk your ass
off. And this is why we literally sit there and argue for hours.
It's so fun.
The other day we sat at dinner and we argued the entire fuck. And I'm not saying like argue like we were fighting.
No.
Like debating. Like we were like I would say something and then you would ask a question and then you would say something and then I would ask a question, and we literally did that for like an hour and a fucking half.
But but it's so fun with you because like you said, you've got it, like you've got them locked and loaded.
Bitch,
and you've got
I
it going.
Ready.
And it's so fun because you know
ready.
and sometimes, most of the time I agree with you. So it's just like going at it, and it's just like me like sharpening the debate sword. But she's been in situations with me where like people are saying dumb shit, and I will just logically wrap them around themselves, and then they're like, by the end of it, they don't even know that what they're saying is fucking ridiculous, and I'm just sitting there like sarcastically laughing my ass off.
You're also great at like changing the argument though, which I feel like it's probably how you get away with like winning a lot of arguments with other people.
Remember that time we'll
be arguing about something specifically, and then you'll kind of like argue about something that is very related, but it's not quite exactly what we're arguing about. And then you'll be like, but what about that? And I'm like, cool, that's not what we're fucking arguing about. That's a fucking different thing. We can have that conversation later, but that is not the same thing. Yeah. And then we get into that. Yeah. So I feel like that's probably how you win a lot. You are the bane of my existence.
And I'm 30.
You're the bane of my existence.
I love you.
What drives me crazy about arguing with you is the fact that you play devil's advocate so strongly, to the point that I'm like, is he paying your fucking bills? You're claiming to be a feminist, but you are going so hard on the opposite side of this argument that I'm like,
I just like seeing how fleshed out people have their like thoughts and like
but
about the world.
That is not a debate. That's why I get like annoyed with you, and that's when I get
totally
really
fair,
angry. Where I'm like, we're not debating anymore. You're just trying to piss me off.
Yeah,
and whenever that is so easy to do.
Whenever it works, though, it's so great to see. I think she's seen me a couple times where like there's like conservatives around me and they don't know what the fuck they're saying, and I would just like lead them. And they'll do it to themselves. Like I'll just ask questions. I'm like, well, what about this? Or what about that? This man is a terrorist. This and that. And then they like, by the end of it, they're like saying opposite things that they started with, and it's just really fun because then afterwards we get to reminisce and be like, the guy's a fucking idiot, or like that was, you know what I mean? Like they were just saying some dumb shit and they don't even know it. So it's fun to laugh at them.
You're a criminal.
Anyway, that's why I really have always been looking forward to being 30 years old.
Oh my God, the big 30.
I know.
What do you want to accomplish in 30?
At 30?
Like in this year, your first year in your 30s.
I don't know.
Or maybe the first half of your 30s.
First half.
Sure. I don't know. I'm just trying to make the question easier.
I don't know. It's so hard for me. It's so hard for me to answer those questions because I don't necessarily operate in the sense of like.
I know you
like
don't.
What do you want to do? I could tomorrow. I could have an idea and then that's what I'm gonna do.
That's on being an Aries.
What?
I love bringing. Like
I hate you when you do that shit.
I know every time you just because it's you want to know why, because it's the only fucking time that you don't have anything to say back.
Well, because I don't know anything about the damn stars. It's the only time that you just
take it and shut the fuck up.
Yeah, well,
do you know what's funny though? Like I also
we've also already had this argument, so to go over and over and over again.
Stick with the astrology and stuff like that, but I find it so funny when things do stick from it. And I was reading something about Aries, and it's like. Aries will get mad and just get super motivated. So they'll be like, you cheated on me? I'm going to go get my PhD. And I was like,
they're
if that's
vengeful.
Not one, if
they
that is
are
not
petty
him,
as
to be fair,
Aries are known for
women
being
have
like,
cheated on me and I don't have 0 PhDs.
Okay, no, but what did you do? What did you do when you were struggling with the whole house and everything? You got drunk, and then the next day you got motivated.
Oh, yes,
that's
true.
what I'm fucking
that's
like.
True. That
and
is
like
true.
you have like the perfect. You are like the pinnacle of an Aries. You have the perfect level of like chaotic energy and like impulsivity, but also you're really fucking like smart. Things just work out for you.
I am very impulsive.
You are
the way I got this house was impulsive.
Oh my God, you're very impulsive.
The way this podcast started was impulsive.
But shit just works out for you, dude. Like I don't understand. I mean,
people just like the appearance of what it looks, but in the moment, I'm like, oh crap, this could like fall apart at any minute. But fuck it, we're going for it.
That's the chaotic energy.
It's
crazy.
But so to answer your question, I don't know if I have any plans specifically. I just know.
What do you hope your 30s look like? I'm trying to reformulate this question.
So I do have an answer for this one. I hope they're more fun than my 20s.
Your 20s were pretty fun.
My 20s, were pretty fun. They were pretty fun. But there were also a lot of things in my 20s that I had to like. There were circumstances and hurdles that I had to get through that were beyond my control. Yeah. So it was like I have to push through that in order to get to a place where I feel like I'm at 0 or where I feel like I can like do things more comfortably. So I hope that from 30 to 40 or 30 to 35 or however you want to frame it, I hope that it feels more fun in the sense that like I'm not necessarily as held back by certain things that were beyond my control. Yeah. Or just a little bit more control in what I'm doing and what I have to do. I still think I'm probably going to be impulsive. I still think I'm probably going to get ideas that are kind of ludicrous in the moment, and I'm just going to go for it. And to be fair, sometimes those ideas get in the way of other ideas that I've been working on for years, for decades. And, there's a couple things that I've been working on for like a decade now, and I'm in the process of putting them to making them come into fruition. But like, I think that for me is like the tug of war between like the artist in me and like the like, what can I do right now? Yeah. That's fair. Immediate. You know what I mean? And I hopefully that's what I want. I want a little bit more balance between those two things. That's fair. Probably a better way to say it. That's a good one. Yeah, like I want more balance between like being in the moment and being like, I'm going to Hawaii. And then like being like, but you also have to like get through all of those things.
Yeah.
Especially now that like I have to do a lot of like this stuff.
Yeah.
And like, put things out and like have our opinions out there, which has actually been kind of like both refreshing and a little like it did give me a little bit of anxiety at one point. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Well, yeah, but I have anxiety about everything.
Right. But like, have you had anxiety specifically about like I thought about this the other day because I do all the editing for the videos.
I feel like I talked to you about this.
Yeah, like I do all the editing for the videos, and then I splice up the videos, and then I'm making reels, and then I'm putting them on Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff. But like once I get in the motions of it, it just feels like grunt work. It feels like I just have to do it, I have to put it out, I have to do it, and by the end of the day, like I don't really pay attention to like who saw it, who commented, who did.
Yeah,
it just like goes into like a thing. But every once in a while, especially when I'm on YouTube and I'm uploading them on YouTube, it'll tell me the count. It'll tell me like how many videos I have in the channel.
Yeah,
and it'll be like 50 videos, and I'm like, holy crap! There's like
so
50
much
videos, long form videos of me just expressing my opinion.
Yeah.
Like at any point in time, anybody could press me about that. Or, online or whatever, which I may or may not pay attention to. But just the idea of like, holy shit, like my opinion is there for people to dissect and criticize because now it's public. And like that kind of gave me a little bit of anxiety.
I feel like I talked to you about this.
Yeah, we
did. Because I had
did.
that moment at like episode 2. Mm-hmm. Because it was like the first time that I like sat like before, like sometimes I just watch like parts of the video like at one moment and then I'll be like, all right, that's enough. And then I have to move on to like the next thing and then I'll finish it some other time. So I'm very like scattered. But I had like that moment where I was like, I'm doing this and like, we have to share it and stuff like that. And I want people to watch it and I want all of that. But I was watching it. I was sitting on my couch and I was watching it and I said something. And I was like, oh, I didn't like that. Yeah. And like, I didn't like that. I was like, I mean, it wasn't anything like huge, but I was like, I mean, I would rather not, like, it didn't land the way it was supposed to. Yeah. And I don't like that it's out there and it's totally like immortalized. Yeah. And I was like, because then I was thinking like, okay, well, why don't I like it? I don't like it because I think people are going to perceive it in this way. And that's not the way that I meant it. But it's the way that it came off for sure.
Right.
And so then I was like, that gives people this idea of me. And then I was like, there's going to be people out there that are going to have a perception of me.
Yes.
They're going to perceive me.
Yeah.
And like, it literally doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter like who you actually are because whoever you are when you're online, like that's who you are to those people. You know what I mean? And I had this like crisis where I was like, I don't know if I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I started like the next like episode or 2, I was so self-conscious and like overthinking everything that I was saying and every comeback that I had because I was like, well, I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like it's so easy to my roommate is texting me.
Like self-criticize?
Well, no, hold on. Sometimes you don't have a roommate. Well, I guess you do. Yeah. But we have to like lock the door. You know what I mean? Like we make sure to lock the door. Like I don't like to have like only one lock when I'm home. Yeah. But sometimes I'll be I'll be like, well, I want to go shower. Mm-hmm. What if she gets home when I'm in the shower? But also if she doesn't, then I just have an unlocked door.
Well, half unlocked door.
It's sure, but like, like there's a reason why one of the locks is there, whatever.
A non-dead bolted door.
What I was saying was, I had this like moment of being like, oh, these people are gonna have opinions about me, and like I'm the kind of person that cares a lot about what other people think and the way that people perceive me. Like I've always been like that. I've always had like a lot of anxiety since I was like a kid, and that's why I had this like need to be like perfect, and by perfect I mean to be like so like to not be like a bother, like to not tick off people and to not like upset people and like to just like people please like crazy. So when I started like watching those clips, I was like, holy shit, like people are gonna have an opinion of me that I also cannot control. Like I can sit there all day and like explain it away and be like, no, that's not, or like, no, I disagree or whatever. But it doesn't fucking matter. Like there might be people that they meet you and they're like, oh yeah, you know, like I think that was just like a misunderstanding. But there's also going to be people that are going to be like, no, I think you meant what you said, or no, I think this is who you are, or
you
whatever.
come off as arrogant, or you come off as like too assertive, or whatever.
And it was like a moment where you're like, oh, I have no control over that. Like I have no control. I can try. Like you can do whatever you want, and you can say and like try to repair it or whatever. But at the end of the day, like you have absolutely no control over how people like view you and their opinions of you and who they think you are. And I was like, so that's debilitating.
Yeah, I think there's definitely like an extra, I mean, when you think of it, when it comes to a podcast with you being filmed and it being recorded and it being posted online, like that's something that it's always there and so many people can see it. But then I also think of that, like I feel like that's where a lot of anxiety comes from, just with like social anxiety, because I think of even just like everyday interactions, and I think of the fact that like, oh, well, I did this one thing that might kind of be interpreted like this, and that might be the only interaction that somebody has with me. So they might think that that's just who I am. That's what I am, you know, and they might just have this idea of me. That like, that's not my overall, and I can try to sit there and explain it, but they already have that experience now.
Right. And I remember around that time, like we've been hiring a bunch of new people at work, because they're always hiring. And I remember one of my coworkers, they were like, oh, what was your first impression of me? And I was like, well, I didn't realize that you worked there at the time. And like I told him, but whatever. I was like, oh, I thought you were like very quiet. And they're not. They're like, whatever. And then I was like, well, what was your first impression of me? Because the first time I like technically that they saw me, I kind of ignored them because I didn't know that they were like working there. Like I thought they were just a customer and I was there just like shopping. And they were like, oh, I thought you were like a college party girl. And I was like, it took me like so aback because I love partying, don't get me wrong. But I have never, like, nobody has ever described me at that. And I don't think anybody would, like, necessarily note that as, like,
I wouldn't have
a characteristic of mine, you know, or, like, a part of, like, nobody would describe me like that. And when they said that, I was like, what? But again, like, I was like, that is crazy. Like, the things, like, the way that people can perceive you just from like a couple of moments and like the idea of you that they can like have in their minds just from like one or two interactions, that I was like, oh my God. And then you like, I get self-conscious and I'm like, well, how do I like deconstruct that? Like, how do I like kind of like bring that back, like reel it in so that I change that perspective? But then I'm like, well, I don't actually want to do that because like one, like once they get to know me, they get to know me, and like, you know, that's whatever. And also like, who cares? But I'm the kind of person that, like I get really anxious and I try, like, I just am so concerned by the way that people perceive me that at the beginning I was like, it's going to be hard. I'm going to talk about this in therapy a lot.
And the other thing that I started thinking about when you brought it up was like, how do you stop that anxiety or the idea of other people's perception of you from changing who you are? Because it can go both ways. It can be this idea of like you
that is much more interesting,
being worried of like, oh, people think I'm this because of what I said, so I'm gonna try to reel that in. Or the opposite, like let's talk about like Cardi B, right? With like, let's say as soon as she did like I don't know if that was like a thing that she always did, or maybe she did it
seems
once.
quirky like that.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I'm just saying, like,
she's really
I'm just
funny.
using that as an example.
But
like, let's say she did that once, and people were like, "Oh, that's so cool!" That, and then all of a sudden be like, "Okay, this is gonna be my thing." And then turning into that, like, oh, well, they like when I do like all these funny noises or something, or like,
I
just
see
like,
what you're saying.
like all these people are commenting on like this thing that they like about, so like, and like feeding into that.
Right. I kind of had that a little bit because since I just started this TikTok for the podcast, and it's been blowing up on some things, and it primarily has been the Coco and Encanto stuff, and I was all like, maybe we should talk more about like Disney movies. I've said that like once or twice,
I
was all like, I had to catch myself because I was like, I mean, I guess we could if that's what we want to talk about. But also I was like, but no, just talk about whatever the fuck you want to talk about. You know what I mean? But
I feel like it's a little bit easier to do though too if you're like actually managing like social media and stuff like that, and you have like something to drive you to it. Like if you have a podcast or if you have a YouTube channel and stuff like that, obviously at the end of the day, like you're concerned with getting views. Like that's your job, and that's something that you're trying to push forward. So I feel like I don't know if it's necessarily like changing who you are as opposed to like, oh, knowing like what my audience wants and how I can incorporate it into who I am already.
It's a fine line, I think.
I think it is a fine line. But yeah, I think,
and I'm kind of I've had some anxiety when it comes to this thing already for mostly two reasons. One, it made me realize that like moments are fleeting. Because for those of you out there, I think I said this in the first podcast, but this kind of came about because a lot of the conversations we have here are conversations we have normally.
Yeah.
Just at a bar. Like we just like going to bars, we like fucking getting drunk, and we like talking shit. And we'll just get heated about whatever it is that we're talking about. And to the points we were making earlier, sometimes I'll play devil's advocate, and I like you know, not arguing, but I like flushing out points. But it made me realize that like in that setting, moments are fleeting. Mm-hmm. So like even if somebody around you heard you say what you said, like it went away. So like despite the fact that they have a first impression, if you meet them again,
they might not even remember.
Either they might not remember, or that first impression can get very quickly juxtaposed with a new impression. Mm-hmm. And like you can kind of maneuver it, you know? But in this setting, though I'm actually pretty good at self-critique, like I'm pretty good at like peer review, and like if people have to watch videos of me, I wouldn't be upset about it, or my art or anything like that. I had a lot of peer review process in my career. But to your point, it's immortalized. So like if somebody has only watched this clip over and over and over and over and over again, that's not one moment. Yeah. That's hundreds of moments. Yeah. That's just like repeating, like that's just you having my tone of voice, my inflection, you know, maybe I was playing devil's advocate, and like maybe like I was being a little bit more like assertive, or like, you know, arrogant, or whatever it was for the point. And like that may be what people think of me. And I was like, oh my God, like that's a little bit like, it wasn't concerning, but it was more like, like the only thing it made me realize is that I may one day have to defend something that I do here. Mm-hmm. And how would I go about that if I was doing that for a point, or without context, or would I even do that at all and say like, you don't have to know me. I don't care if you know me at all. As long as these people here know me, then I'm cool. Like, you know, but because I also then figured out like, if people watch this regularly, then they'd probably eventually get more of a sense of who we are just by longevity, rather than like instant flash. You know what I mean? Yeah. So but it did make me a little anxious, because not so much on the social anxiety. Like I've always had anxiety. I've always kind of suffered with that kind of thing before, but more so in the sense of like future. Like, how would I handle this in the future? Yeah. Not in any way, shape, or form related to like how people see me. Just like, how would I ever handle this in the future? And do I need to be a little bit more preemptive? Because like you, unlike you guys, the social anxiety, or the anxiety that I felt as a kid, was not so much to be a bother. It was the opposite. It was I felt anxiety because I was unacknowledged. So like, growing up where I grew up, and like I was just smaller, and then I was like I was a little bit more timid, and to the point about being 30, like the adults in that environment, or actually not that environment, the adults in the environment that I grew up in, the adults that I just happened to come across, were all like almost all one specific kind of adult. Like, do what I say, I know what's good for you, or like, do what I say, you're not going to be anything, or do what I say, like it doesn't matter. Or you could just see through the bullshit. They're just trying to get a paycheck, and they're trying to get out. You know what I mean? And so in that environment, the only way, like actually after a while in that environment, it starts to become a really prevalent thought that like, oh, you're me as a person, I'm insignificant in this situation. Not in like a meaningless, I feel meaningless kind of way,
Yeah.
but in like more conniving kind of way. Like, oh, I am insignificant in the situation, so I can take advantage of this. So I can show up into situations and pretend that I'm something that I'm not to get the attention and then leave, because after the fact, when I come back, I'm going to be insignificant again. It's happened many times.
That is a crazy
You know what I mean?
perspective.
So like the anxiety that I felt was not so much like, oh, I don't want to bother people. It was more so like, I feel like I'm unimportant, so I'm going to go ahead and bother you, because now I feel like I've got nothing to lose.
That's crazy.
I'm already at zero.
That's
kind
so
of
crazy.
thing. You know what I mean? So going back to the now that I'm 30 thing, like I'm going to vouch for the people that I remember being either me myself or like my friends or like my classmates in school. Like sometimes 30-year-olds didn't know what the fuck was going on, and I'm like, now that I'm here, I'm like, yeah, a whole bunch of the people that are my age still don't know what the fuck is going on. And the 30-year-olds that were 30 whenever I was a kid, y'all can fuck off too, because y'all still don't know what the fuck's going on. I see y'all on Facebook. Y'all don't know shit.
Talking crazy.
Yeah. Fuck. Speaking of like being out and about, though, a couple weeks ago.
It's a burp.
Did you burp?
I did.
A couple weeks ago, we partied with Joe Biden's daughter.
Oh fuck! I forgot about that. It was like in the most like underwhelming way.
Yes,
like,
it was.
I keep like pressing Juan because I'm like, dude, we used to get drunk every fucking weekend. And when is the last time we went out? It was like Halloween and it's February of a new year. Like that's so embarrassing. So I was like,
Brie understands.
we really need to go out. Like we really need to go out. But you've been traveling because of work, and we found out like a weekend. We were like, cool, we're going out that day. It doesn't matter. And we just like went to Dean's downtown on Main Street. And I was talking to Brenda about this because we keep trying to look for like a home bar, or what would you call it? Yeah, just like a spot.
like a home base bar, like a bar
just
that
like
we just
the go-to.
Yeah.
Because as if we haven't said it enough on this podcast, it used to be the pastry war. I will never ever finish grieving. I literally think about it all the fucking time. Brenda and I were screaming about that this week.
Yeah, I think about it often.
But we were like, whatever, fuck it, let's go to Dean's. But Dean's is the kind of bar that it's kind of perfect when it's empty. Like it's the bar that it's meant to be empty. You know what I mean? Like I want to go to Dean's on like a Tuesday night, maybe Thursday. I don't want to go to Dean's on a Saturday night.
Yes.
They were playing Euphoria on the projector.
Yeah,
it is packed. It is packed. The music was weird. The music was good, but the DJ kept like switching it on like weird spots, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? So overall vibes questionable. We are finally sitting at the bar. It was also fucking freezing, but we were like, let's sit outside. It's cold as shit. It's so fucking cold. The wind is blowing. And so eventually I'm like, we have to move inside. I don't give a fuck. If we stand, we stand. Whatever. We move inside. Somehow we get a spot on the bar. Everything is great. We sit down at the bar and we are talking, having a great time. This guy,
we start arguing. No,
what were we?
We don't argue.
No, we were talking about Euphoria.
We were talking about Euphoria because
we were kind of arguing, but like not really.
We in our typical fashion, like we've described.
We were talking about Cassie and Maddie, and I said, "Fuck Cassie."
The last time that we had talked about Euphoria was on this podcast.
Oh, that's true.
So I had not watched it at that time. So me and Brie watched all of the 2 seasons, and I had opinions at that point.
Yeah.
And then you had opinions, and we were doing our usual thing.
Yes.
In this process, go ahead.
What did he say that he got into the conversation? Oh, he was like, are you guys talking about Euphoria?
Yeah, because we were talking about Nate or something like that.
We were talking about Nate at that
whatever.
point.
Or I said Nate's a psychopath.
Yeah,
and you were
I was like, 100 fucking percent. We're not debating about Nate Jacobs. He's fucking insane. He's the worst.
Some guy was in the back with his drink like this.
Yeah.
And he's all like, are you guys talking about Nate Jacobs?
Euphoria? And we were like, yeah, it's playing on the fucking projector right now. And he's like, oh, word. And then we're just talking about that. And all of a sudden, you know, like Juan is like mingling with him. They become friends because of course. I'm looking at the really hot bartender. She was beautiful. Like, she was gorgeous. She looked like a goddess. Anyway, then he's like, hey, you'll see that girl over there? And I don't know what I don't know what went through your mind when he said that, but this is what went through my mind. I hear, hey, you'll see that girl over there? My head hears, he's about to give us some fucking tea. He's about to give us some fucking drama. In my head, this is all that I created in my head in the span of like 0.2 seconds.
Yes.
In my head, he said, you'll see that girl over there. And that girl over there to me is like either a girl that he likes or his ex-girlfriend. And she is going to be with like some fucking guy, maybe a friend of his, and he's kind of like gagged. You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of like, damn, like she did me fucking dirty. I thought he was about to give us like an insight on his love life. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was like I am.
It was already kind of late. Also, it was like it was like midnight.
He was drunk for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I am about to hear some fucking drama, and I am ready. Like, I am ready to gossip. I'm ready to like dive into this man's love life. And then we're like, yeah, that girl over there. Yeah, I see her. What's up with her? You tell us. Let us know. What's the story? What does he say? That's Joe Biden's daughter. And I said, what are you talking about?
And I turned around. I'm like, man, this dude's
like,
drunk
man,
as
shut the
fuck.
fuck up, bro.
Joe Biden's daughter is not here.
Shut up. What you said was, no, there would be Secret Service right there. And he goes, look at the guy behind her. He has an earpiece.
And I was like,
and we are like, what do you mean? We turn, and Juan and I just like look at each other, and we're like, oh my God.
Wait, so there was one guy right behind her, right? Yeah. And in regular clothes. And my second question was, aren't they supposed to be wearing suits?
No,
That was my second question. I was like,
man, no, shut the fuck
aren't they
up.
supposed to be wearing suits? And the guy with the drink that I bought him, he's sitting there, he's moving side to side, and he goes, that's actually a lie. And he drinks casually. And I'm just like, first of all, I don't know who you are and what side quest you're fulfilling in your life right now.
Like, who did you vote for? Like, I'm confused.
You know what I mean? That you're here and all of a sudden, like, you went from about to be potentially my friend to you delivering some information that you should have started with.
Yeah.
And now there's a point of contention. So I'm like, okay. So I see the guy. So right next to the guy, there's another guy with an earpiece.
Yep.
And we're like, holy shit.
At this point, I am frantically Googling what Joe Biden's daughter looks like because I have no fucking idea. She's white. She has brunette hair. Sure.
And
she
she's
could
in
be
her
Joe
40s
Biden's
or something
daughter.
like that?
Or she could be Matt Damon. I don't fucking know. Like,
Right.
I don't know what she looks like. So I am frantically Googling this woman. Also, Dean's is dark as shit. Like, it's not even just like, oh, it's like a bar and the lights are off. It's like, there is no light in there. Like, it's so fucking dark. So I'm like, I don't know if I'm like, again, like, sure, it could be her, but it could also be just any generic, like, white girl. I don't know what she looks like.
Yeah, so we looked it up.
Eventually, we agree that looks like Joe Biden's daughter.
Yeah.
And there is this guy trying to go to work with her. Like, he is
trying
working
so hard. So then I start to hype my mans up. Remember? I was all like, bro, this is your time.
To be fair, even at this point, like, after we Googled her, I am like, I don't know if like, I'm drunk, he's drunk, you know what I mean?
And then
it's
we
like, it could be anyone.
saw there's another Secret Service guy at the entrance.
I freak the fuck
And he's
out
just
because
like this.
at this point we are kind of like trying to accept it. I've like gotten distracted and I look to like my left and I see at the very end there's this guy, and at this point I don't know if we were making eye contact, but he's looking like straight ahead, and obviously I'm like on the other side of the fucking bar, but he looks weird, like he's just staring, and I'm like, oh, what a creep. Like, that's so fucking weird. Like, you're being creepy right now. Like, stop staring at people at the fucking bar. What are you doing?
Right.
And he like kind of like turns his head and I see an earpiece and I freak the fuck out again. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. We are surrounded right now.
And I got really paranoid.
In every exit of the fucking bar.
And in the bathroom.
And yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, we are in the middle of Dean's at this point. There's a guy by the door. There's two guys by her. There's another guy by the bathroom. And that's all that I can see. I don't know if there's more. So at this point, I get paranoid too for some reason.
I get paranoid as hell. I'm like, there's a lot of undercover cops in here.
I know.
I don't need, they probably.
It's like, I'm not doing anything wrong, but I feel uneasy.
Yeah, like everybody has iPhones in here. Everybody has smartphones. They're probably getting like real time data. Like there's like 4 sex traffickers in there. There's like 4. You know what I mean? Like they're probably like fucking getting like real because they can sneak through your phone. The Patriot Act. Like they know who the fuck is everywhere. Like you know what I mean? So like they fucking CIA or whoever the Secret Service. Fucking home base headquarters is probably like Googling everybody at the bar. It was all like, these are the points of threats, like these are the threats or whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be there because I was like, I don't like being judged like this. So
well, I was like, what happens if something goes, like at what point do they intervene was what was going in my head, because again, we don't know anything
in fucking
we don't
Texas.
know anything in this situation, right? All we know at this point is this is Joe Biden's daughter. Who is she with? I don't know. Who are the people around her? I don't know. There's this guy talking to her pretty much the entire time.
He's trying to mac on her so hard.
But I am like, is she married? Is that her boyfriend? Is that her date?
That was definitely not her boyfriend.
Together? Is that just some random guy that's hitting on her? Because if so, how did he get to fucking Secret Service?
That's definitely some random guy.
You know what I mean? Like, I am trying so fucking hard to connect all the fucking dots. My mind is racing. And in my head, all I'm thinking about is like, what if something goes wrong? And what would be the thing that classifies as something going wrong? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, when do you intervene? Do you have
like what
codes,
happens
like,
if somebody just comes and like smacks her butt and like walks away? Like, you know,
like
things that we as normal women that don't have Secret Service,
no,
we
but
deal
I'm not
with.
even thinking that. Like, I'm not even thinking, like,
that's a good point.
Because I'm like, if somebody comes and smacks her butt, what's going to happen is they're going to grab him and kick him out. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's going to happen.
I would like for them to do more.
No, I'm not going to call for Joe Biden's daughter to be like sexually assaulted in public.
No, I'm saying
I would like for the Secret Service to do more.
To be fast.
Like, I don't just want you to hit her, but I want you to cup
You're
that
like,
shit.
I want to see if somebody will attempt to murder her.
No.
Like,
I meant the Secret Service.
I'm like,
here's what I want to see. If the Secret Service are behind
really
Joe
worried.
Biden's daughter and some guy goes and smacks her butt, I need to see the Secret Service waterboarding that guy on the bar with some whiskey. Like, I need to see it happen.
Whiskey?
So Jaeger.
Ooh, Jaeger. There you go.
With the most horrible alcohol you could possibly find.
No.
I need to see him get waterboarded with a fucking rag from the bar and just like go to town. Don't you dare do that again.
No, because you know
this
how,
is
like,
America's daughter right now.
And I know. I don't even want to tell him. I don't even want them to tell him that they're doing it to him because it's Biden's daughter. I just want
I just want them to do it.
Touch, this is what happens.
I just want you to do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that would be beautiful.
Yeah. But yeah, that's
I love that I got really worried there for a minute. I was like, all right, listen,
No.
I let you talk your shit on the podcast and say controversial things sometimes, but maybe
we were
sit
on the
this
same
one
page.
out.
We were on the same page. You kind of drifted.
But you know how
bit.
like public figures and like celebrities and stuff like that, they love to like when they're in public, they don't want to cause a scene. You know what I mean? That's why I'm like, realistically, they're probably just kick him out.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
what if something worse happened?
What would it take for this to turn into like a, bro, we were at Dean's last night and Joe Biden's daughter was there and then this happened and then they closed out the fucking place and then Secret Service went like crazy and they were like questioning, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like I was like, because also that shit can happen so quickly.
You were thinking about all of that and I was trying to get our friend, our homeboy, who's talking about Nate Jacobs, and I was all like, "Bro, this is your chance.
You need to go ask her out
You need
right
to
now.
go talk to her. You need to shoot your shot. If there was any moment to shoot your shot, it is right now. We need to Meghan Markle this situation right now. You're gonna be the next Meghan Markle. We about to
You did say that.
Your new address is gonna be 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, bro. Let's go for it.
Which was problematic. You have to know, everybody listening, all 46 of you. Sorry. I really wanted to make that joke. You have to know that when he said you are the next Meghan Markle, this man is black. And I was like, you are dead fucking wrong for that.
He was Puerto Rican. He was like,
yeah, there are black Puerto Ricans.
Like, he was a Puerto Rican guy, black Puerto Rican guy. It was really funny.
Like, you have had too much to drink. Also, I was like, no. I'm sorry. Listen, I'm sure you're a great guy. Don't shoot your shot with Joe
you were
Biden's
like, don't shoot your shot at Joe Biden's daughter. And I was like, don't listen to her.
him right now.
She doesn't know.
I'm taking a pause from my anxiety attack to tell you, do not go near Joe Biden's daughter. You stay where the fuck you are. You stay right here. We keep buying you drinks, and by we I mean Juan. We keep talking about Euphoria. Don't fucking go near her.
And he did for a second sip his drink a little bit and looked at her and was all like, I could be the next Margaret.
Wait, was the controversy with Biden the fact that he was the one that did stop and frisk?
No, that was Bloomberg.
Oh, never mind.
Who the fuck is Bloomberg?
Yeah, that was Bloomberg. So no, he's fine with it when it comes to that.
I was gonna say because if Biden was the one that did stop and frisk, boy, you better shoot your shot. Yeah. Go shoot your shot.
Shoot your fucking shot.
No, but he hasn't canceled student debt, so shoot your fucking shot.
Shoot your shot.
So we ended up. I ended up going to the bathroom.
Care.
I ended up going to the bathroom. She was dancing right by the bathroom. She was just like moving around with her friend. And I passed by. I'm like, "Are you the reason why there's like security?"
Did you talk to Joe Biden's daughter? How did I miss this?
And she was drunk. Well, because you were in the bathroom and we were getting ready to head out.
True.
We had decided like we're not gonna stay here for in case. I guess your anxiety won and was like, in case something bad happens, we gotta get the fuck out.
I'm like, that's not what I was thinking, but now is what I am thinking. So I'm like, I wanted to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and she was like, "No, we're leaving. I was like, "Okay, we can go." So I just walked by and I was like, "Are you the reason why the Secret Service is here?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Are you important?" She goes, "No." And she just kind of kept dancing.
She was drunk.
And yeah, she was drunk as fuck.
She was having a great time.
And
like she was drunk and like she was just dancing and having a good time. You know what I mean?
The life.
She was like, I am the president's fucking daughter and I deserve this.
That was life.
I deserve a night out.
That was life, liberty.
She was
and the pursuit
Mandy
of happiness
Moore
right
in what's that fucking movie? I loved
My First Date with the President's Daughter.
No, that is another movie.
That was with the guy from Boy Meets World. That movie is
another movie. But no, Mandy Moore. Fuck, I used to watch the fuck out of the movie on Boomerang. Y'all remember that channel?
Yeah.
So fucking good. What is it? Chasing Liberty. So good. Are you kidding me? She ends up going to like Burning Man or some shit. It's so good. Anyway, it was honestly, again, underwhelming. Because it was just kind of like, again, you were like, we need to go say hi or we need to go take a picture.
I was all like, we got to go meet the...
I was like, no,
I was like, I got to get her on the podcast.
Not. Number one, I will go... What did you say?
I said, I got to get her on the podcast.
No, stop.
No, but I asked her, I was all like, are you the reason... I was like, are you important? She's like, no. And I go, well, there's 4 of them. And she was like, there's 5. And I was like, what? I was like,
get your fucking facts
I was like,
straight.
Is there a secret one in case the 4 mess up? And she was like, exactly.
She don't
and
care.
She just kind of kept going. I was like, we're getting the fuck out of here.
We're getting out of here.
Because there's apparently a secret one.
I will take a picture with Joe Biden's daughter when he gives me citizenship. Okay? Until then,
Deal.
I don't care.
Well, she walked her tab that day. In the name of freedom.
Well, I don't know if that's true. Do we know if that? Can we like fact check that?
Well,
I
think the bartender, one of the bartenders' Twitter. I think that's what it was. One of the bartenders.
I don't know if she was a bartender.
I think she was.
I don't think she was a bartender because I saw her profile picture and I was like, "Girl, you were not one of the bartenders."
I think she was the one on the far left, and we had the guy and the other girl. But
it was this girl that tweeted about it, and she was like, not Joe Biden's daughter at Dean's last night or something, and then she was like, and she walked out her tab, and I was like, no, she fucking didn't.
She really did. In the name of freedom. Imagine if she walked out. This is the way that I saw it in my head.
In the name of freedom. Stop.
The moment I saw that she walked out, this is what my brain did because this is what it does. Biden's daughter walks out of Dean's at 2 a.m. Mm-hmm. Right under that orange fluorescent light with the 2 photographs of downtown Houston on the side. Looks at the bartenders and says, I gotta go, but y'all, I'm getting y'all stimulus checks for next week, okay? See you guys later. Peace. And it just walks to her tab. What are the bartenders gonna do? They can't be like, ma'am, you have to pay. That's Joe Biden's daughter.
Also, like, she probably did pay eventually. You know what I mean? It's like they probably approved like PPE for the fucking bar. I don't fucking know.
They probably kept the bar open for another month and a half.
They gave them a tax cut. I don't know.
Yeah, some tax cut. What she should have done is we should have convinced her to bring pastry wars back.
Yeah.
Executive order.
Well,
pastry
the
wars
U.S.
back.
is like trillions of dollars in debt. So I don't know that.
So what's what's a tequila bar gonna be able to
let's talk about this because what is this national debt? Who do we owe it to?
Ourselves.
Who do we? That sounds stupid. That sounds like not a real thing.
It's probably the Federal Reserve. I think it happened whenever we decentralized our currency.
Why didn't you stop spending? Like, if you were already in debt, like, if you were already like $1 million or a couple billions, why weren't you like, all right, we gotta freeze the credit card? You know what I mean? Like,
you can't make more. Well, I think
the account.
If I'm not mistaken, once I dived into the conspiracy,
I just want to crack my jokes.
Yeah, like, but I just think it's because we stopped our currency being backed on gold.
I have to find this because Brenda and I once, I sent her or she sent me. We sent each other at some point a TikTok talking about the national debt. And we were talking about it and we were like, who do we owe this to? And also like, girl, who left you unsupervised? Trillions? Like, at what point are you going to stop? You can't keep spending money. You don't have money.
Stop.
But also, if we owe it to, like, can you not just like not pay it back?
That's technically what we're doing is not paying it back.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, we've given out stimulus checks. It's like, it feels like not a real thing. Mm-hmm. Just delete the account.
Wait, is it the fact that we don't have the money backed anymore by like actual gold? Because like back in the day, like $1 was worth like a certain percentage of like a certain amount of gold.
All of that sounds like fantasy talk to me.
At this point,
we don't pay shit with gold.
Well, no, exactly. That's the point. Before, I think that the dollar was backed by gold. When they decentralized it.
But do you realize what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
It means that there was a certain amount of gold inside the U.S. Mint.
Okay, so you're telling me if we ran out of paper money that we print.
Well, that's what I was saying. If it was backed by gold, that means that there's a certain amount of gold in the mint, and that the paper money printed equated for a fraction of whatever that gold is. Of that gold is. So if they print more money, then the dollar's worth more. I mean less, because then they have to divide whatever that gold was. But then they decentralized it, so they made it not be backed on gold anymore. And then after it wasn't backed on gold, then they could just keep printing more money all the fucking time.
Are we going to keep pretending that doesn't sound absolutely fucking made up?
Well,
yeah. I mean,
are we gonna keep pretending that we are not backed?
Almost every country's currency has been backed by gold.
We don't use gold for anything. Even if we run out of money, we're not gonna fucking use gold. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Money is not fucking real. You print it on paper.
Money isn't real. Time isn't real. Jobs aren't real. Like,
you print it on paper, but you don't want me.
We're just in our simulation.
Print more money. If you're that much in debt, print more money. What, inflation? Get out of here with your fake fucking made up concepts. Get the fuck out of here.
But isn't that the point? They print more money, then they get more in debt, because every time they print more money, they're like, well, now you owe us that money.
In debt to who? In debt to who?
But that's the point I'm making, is that if they print more money, they're like, well, who's going to pay that money?
Do you want to hear? This is entirely just for y'all. We don't have to put this in the podcast, but this is a conversation that I had with Brenda.
Put it on the thing just in case. Put it on the...
No, I'm reading it. No worries.
Oh, okay.
I said, were they also in quarantine and had nothing better to do about spending money? Brenda said, like, no one has frozen your credit card, so we're good. Just don't spend money you don't have anymore. I don't get it. I said, like, y'all could give us stimulus checks while being in debt. Bitch, just close the account. Brenda said, I said, why were they left without supervision? And Brenda said, and the whole government? Which part? Why is it the whole government? I said, who spent the money? In all caps. Brenda said, just don't pay it back. We seem to be fine so far. I said, dead ass, pay it back where? Where are we depositing this fucking money? She said, literally, who ran what credit card and on what? Then she says, like, if it's the government that's in debt, but the government is still running, then I said, like, when I found out I was like, how are y'all in so much debt too? Like, I know I can't talk because I've been trying to lower my credit line for like 3 years and it's still at 1,300, but y'all spend trillions on what? And then she said, literally nothing. I just don't understand. And who are you in debt to? How did you spend that much money? that you do not have. We went on for like 5 minutes.
So wait, does this mean that like it's just the more in debt we are, the less the American dollar equals in comparison to other countries?
Not true.
No, I don't
Actually,
know.
I don't know. But like it can't be because it hasn't really gone down in value that much. You know what I mean?
Well, what I'm saying is like, okay, like if an American dollar, if we're saying, I know you said that they got rid of the whole idea of it being backed.
I don't know how long ago it was. They got rid of it, but they got rid of it.
But what
they got rid of what?
So before, when the country was founded, there was a certain, like in the U.S. Mint, there was a certain amount of gold. There was a fuck ton of gold.
We're going back to when the country was founded.
Yes, because the country's not that old. It's only like 200 years old.
I know.
So,
Youngin.
So when the country was founded, there was a certain amount of gold inside the mint. Every dollar printed
inside the mint, y'all gotta be shitting me.
Every dollar printed was divided equally in terms of the gold. So your dollar was worth a certain percentage of whatever gold was in there. So since America pretty much stole all the gold from everybody, the dollar was fucking worth a lot, comparatively speaking to other countries. It made sense because every other country's currency was also valued for the amount of gold they had. So that was a very easy way to distinguish the American dollar is a certain percentage of gold. It's worth more than this country's whatever peso or whatever because they only have this amount of gold, and that was a very good ratio to like put it on. After, I don't know if other countries did this, but America eventually got rid of it getting backed by gold. And they were just like, whatever, we're just not going to do it like this anymore. So essentially, they can then keep printing money.
More so, how are we in debt? Trillions of dollars.
That is a much more complicated answer that I am not qualified to give.
And I guarantee you it's not, because I guarantee you that they're making up all of the fucking concepts that they're using to explain the fucking answer.
Maybe.
You gotta be shitting me.
Maybe. I'd rather get upset about all those fucking bank
bailouts. If you cannot answer me, who are we in debt to? I don't want to hear it. If you say China, I'll be like, okay, cool. I don't know why, and you might be lying to me, but sure. If you say that we're in debt to somebody, cool. If you say that you were in debt to yourself, what? Get a grip.
There is a chance. Are you looking it up?
I'm trying.
Okay.
I don't know what to look up.
There is a
the
chance.
Thing that baffles me is like trillions of dollars.
What if
already the difference between millions and billions is so astronomically
it really
big?
Is. Yeah, and then trillions.
That we are in debt trillions for what? We don't have free education. There is no free healthcare. What did you put that money to?
Hold on.
What did you put that money to?
Before you say it, could it be that the debt is what we owe?
What? Who?
Like you have if you have credit.
No.
If you have a credit card.
Way.
If you have a credit card that you owe money to.
No fucking way.
Everybody's debt together. That's the national debt. No.
No.
Okay, go.
That is a really funny theory, though. I love that that's where your mind went. But immediately you said it, and I was like, listen, I don't know about a lot of shit, but I know about that, and I know you're wrong.
Okay, go.
The government owes it to buyers of U.S. Treasury notes, including individuals.
So the Federal Reserve, yeah.
What the fuck is a treasury note?
Treasury notes, isn't that similar to...
So the federal, the way after they decentralized it and they made it out of gold.
Keep making up shit. Go ahead.
The Federal Reserve borrowed treasury notes and would then print out money. So those treasury notes were worth a certain amount, and then the Federal Reserve printed out the money and put it onto distribution. That money has to come back in order for the government to be paid off.
So they're like loans. People got little loans.
Essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
So treasury notes, including to individuals, to companies, and to foreign governments. So there are other foreign governments, and apparently it's foreign governments who have purchased U.S. treasuries include China, Japan, Brazil, Ireland, and the UK, and others. But it also says that the remaining portion is intragovernmental debt. The Treasury owes this debt to its various departments that hold government account series security.
How? And you'll want to worry about your own credit line, bitch.
But does that mean, wait,
You want to talk to me about Credit Karma? You want to talk to me about, hey, this is your minimum payment this month? Worry about your own fucking financials, bitch.
But what I'm
trillions
thinking
of dollars, and I owe you like 1,400. Worry about yourself. Why are you worried about me?
Yeah, don't come at me. Pay
Don't
your
come
bill
at
off
me,
first.
because
I'll
we
pay you
have
after.
this-
I got a credit card when I was 18. You are 200 years old.
Does that mean that this huge military that we have, like sometimes they're just like borrowing money from like other parts of the government? They're like, we just need a little bit more, and like taking a little bit from
Yeah,
other people,
because
and
they
then
need a little bit
owe
more.
other parts of the government that money, like the other parts of the government.
I
need
don't
that?
understand. I do not
It's all
understand.
fake anyways. It's all
That's
fake.
what I mean. It's like I know that this is a me problem. I understand that people can explain it to me and it's gonna make sense in the little made up world, but to me it's nothing more than a made up world.
Right.
Because money is not fucking real. We don't use fucking gold. So
Yes.
what are you talking about?
Back then, whenever it was backed on gold, quarters were actually silver. So then it made sense why a quarter was worth a quarter.
Sure.
Because it was silver. So it was like, yo,
Okay.
I can melt
But
this.
even then, the only
and, like,
reason that like even gold or silver was what it was is because of the way that humans look at it as being like, oh, this is rare, and like
That
we
is
want it to
what
count
I'm
as like.
saying.
It's just
Who
It-
came up with
it-
that?
it-
Who
it-
came up
cares?
with that?
Oh,
You
it's
found
shiny.
a shiny
It's
rock
shiny.
and you were like, I'm gonna pay with, like, I'm gonna get me some clothes with this. What the fuck are you talking about?
So wait, does that mean that we all really do believe in astrology and
Why?
shiny rocks? We just like shiny rocks.
Yes.
We just fucking like shiny rocks, and we
Is
think
that
that,
the
they're
same thing?
valuable.
Do people
we
in
think that they're
astrology like
valuable
shiny
for
rocks?
some fucking
Well, because
reason.
of crystals and stuff like
Crystals
that.
and
Like
yeah,
all of that,
like-
it's still. I don't know if.
Oh,
I
to,
mean,
like,
it's
align
kind of
your
part of
chakras
like
and shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
to get your
That's what I'm
get your
also
feng
like-
shui all right.
I can trade you my
Like,
shiny rock for your services.
when
Like,
people
why?
make
No.
fun of girls
Well, that's
for
how
liking
that's how
astrology,
society started. Like you would have things, and then you would trade them for other things.
Isn't
based
that
on
who came up with that? Who came up with that? That's why I think it's so fucking
in that
funny.
sense, it made sense. Like if you live in a part of the world where you could like grow wheat, and other parts of the world didn't
Sure.
grow wheat, then you could get a fucking however
that's
the
a
fuck wheat
useful
works,
good.
and be like,
You know
all
what I
right,
mean?
here
Like,
you can have
you
it as
can
long as you
cook
give me
with
some
wheat.
sugar or whatever.
You know what I
fuck.
mean?
Yeah.
The point of those things is that I'm like, gold, it's just a shiny fucking rock.
Yes.
It just exists. It doesn't do anything. It just exists. But at some point,
But
somebody
it's also
was like,
scarce. There's only a limited amount.
bitch, so what? If it doesn't,
Well,
like,
if
what
it's a
I'm
limited
saying is
amount,
it
then you can
doesn't-
apply
how is it
value
useful?
to it, and if it runs out, then you have no more.
But we can do that now because that's how we have been, like, that's how we like function now. But I'm saying, like, back in the olden fucking days, somebody literally grabbed a shiny fucking rock
Yeah.
that did nothing. It's just a rock.
Yeah.
And then they were like,
know why it
I'm gonna buy
became-
me a house with this.
Do you know why it probably became so important? Because back in the time when like there were kings and things like that, and they're like, oh, this is such a limited resource, and everybody thinks it's like shiny and pretty, and we like it, so I'm the only one that's allowed to have it.
This is true.
You
know?
This is
dumbasses
100% true.
fell for it.
This is 100% true.
God.
Exclusivity is still, it has always been and will always be the currency of the time.
The way that psychology has ruled the entire human existence.
Right?
Like,
Because this is
y'all
true.
are
Pharaohs
fools.
and kings
Y'all are
and monarchs
fools.
and fucking, like, they were like, ooh, wait a second. You're telling me there's only a limited amount of those purple flowers? I want those all over my house. That'll show everybody that I can get it like that and you can't.
So wait, with that
Fuck
being
outta
the
here.
question, specifically, mainly to you, Juliet,
I'm exhausted.
how would you feel? How would you feel if somebody engaged to you and you thought it was real gold, like a real gold ring, and then later you found out it was fake?
What do you mean?
Like it's fake
Like,
gold. Like
how
it's
would
not.
I
It's not like it's
feel
not.
about it.
If your future,
Yeah,
if your
like-
Does it
future
look
boyfriend,
pretty?
if your future
sure.
boyfriend
It still looks
proposed
pretty.
with fake
Sure.
gold,
Okay.
If it still looks pretty, sure. I mean,
and
what I
that's-
wanted to be. Listen, I've never said I'm not a hypocrite.
facts
Like,
only.
I would want it to be real gold because I am a prisoner of like all of the ideas that society has given us. But I mean, realistically, if it's pretty, I don't care.
That's and I
Girl,
If it
I've
turns
worn
my finger
jewelry
green,
that
though?
has turned my skin green my
Yup.
entire life. I am fine. Like, I don't care.
But the only reason I bring that up, there was like a video that I remember watching of these people that were at I think it was a basketball game, and these people decided to walk around with like a tester, like a metal tester, to see if like real gold or not. And they were like, yo, can we test your ring? And they're like videoing and stuff. And the girl was like, yeah, sure. He got me a real ring. And then like they tested it and it came out that it wasn't real. And she like threw her drink at him and like made this whole fuss. I'm like,
no,
if your girl throws your drink throws a drink at you because you got her a fake ring after you've already been married, then that relationship wasn't gonna last, bro. That's not it. No,
but I was gonna say though, if they went around and like tested my ring and my ring looked like real gold, but it wasn't, I would be like, you better work. You better finesse that fucking ring because you paid less for a ring that looks exactly the same.
Yeah. Okay. But also the other thing that like standing up for that side of it.
I do want a real diamond.
Well, not even that.
Well, you might have. Well, but the diamonds are even worse. That diamonds are worth less than gold because there's so much
pretty
diamonds.
And shiny.
Well, yeah, but I mean, so I
want to say standing up for
sapphires.
For those women. Let's say that's that's what they told you. They told you they were giving you real gold or something, if it's fake or whatever, like whatever, but like why do you gotta lie? It goes back to
what we were talking last time. Like at the same time, it's like if that is her expectation, it is wrong of you to try to like tweak that. If you cannot offer that to her, then that's on you.
Yeah.
You can't be mad at her because she told you what she wanted. If she said, this is the ring that I fucking want and I want it to be real diamond and I want it to be real gold, and you're like, I cannot give you that, then that's not the fucking person for you.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel. That's how I feel about.
But I'm glad that she threw that fucking drink on you. Because why are you lying to her?
That's how I feel.
But see how quickly that switched?
But no. But how do you know that he lied to her? How do you know it wasn't just the jeweler scamming him and saying it was real gold?
That's true.
And he just thought it was real gold.
That's true too. That's fair.
Because that happens. That probably happens more. It's not like, yo, why did y'all automatically assume that the homie was like, I need to get fake gold?
Well, because also I'm like, hold on, you're not like, I would be testing that shit too. Like if I'm buying a ring and if I think it's real gold, I'm paying a heavy
showing
buck
up to
for
Jared with a tester.
Show up to that shit with a tester. You know
that's
what I mean?
Some broke ass shit.
If you're spending like all that money in a ring and you think that it is the real thing, you're not verifying that, then you're a dumbass. What are you doing? You're not. You spend what, like $5,000 on a ring and you didn't know it was real?
But like, do you verify
Come on.
that with all the big purchases? Do you verify that on your car?
I don't make big purchases. Verify what on my car? If it is a Toyota or not?
No.
What are you talking about?
If the engine works properly, if they're not finessing you for shit, you know what I mean?
To CarMax,
you have to do inspections.
I went to CarMax to buy a car. I did not bring my own mechanic with me to check it out.
But you still have. It doesn't matter. You have to register the car, and to register the car, you have to do an inspection.
Yeah, but I already bought it. I already bought it before I went to go and do this inspection, so I already owe that money on it.
You can't get the inspection beforehand.
I mean, to be fair, I bought a car off of someone, not from a car dealership, but I imagine that there's also like,
when you buy a car off a car dealership,
there's like all of these like insurances and stuff like that.
The same way that Jared might be like, yo, this is real gold, and it might not be real gold.
Wait, say that again.
Like, you're going to get the warranty in them from the Toyota dealer that you got it from.
Right, but if you're saying that,
but they might be,
in that case, if the problem is that the engine maybe doesn't work, then you just get a car with an engine that works.
Right, but like, how do you know that? Like, how do you know that they're not finessing you and making sure that like your car fucks up in 6 months?
Yeah,
or 7 months instead of like letting it run.
I mean, I feel like that's way less likely though, because car dealerships are a lot like a much bigger like vetted. Like nothing about Jared tells you that like you're going to get a real ring. That is not their. You know what I mean?
Jared, okay.
You're going there and you're gonna get a ring.
Maybe not Jared. Maybe it's just like some random jeweler.
Or whatever. But you know what I mean? Like whatever jewelry store is like, nobody's saying that you're guaranteed to get a specific ring. They sell rings and you can choose if you get a fake one or whatever. But number one, that would be illegal either way. You can't say that something is
That's not true.
It's not true?
It's not true because the fake jewelry business is fucking huge. They can charge whatever they want because they own it.
Well, sure, you can charge whatever you want, but I'm saying if you specifically sell something
that is
as real gold or as real diamond,
I don't know if that's a felony.
I don't know if it's a felony.
I don't know if that's a crime. I don't know if that's a crime.
But I can imagine there must be something that you can do because
it's like a governing body that might go and like...
You bought a product that's not what they
Was
actually
advertised.
sold
But
you.
also, what kind of proof do you have behind? Like, it might just be if you're just buying it from somebody that's not like Jared or something like that, like a big jewelry company. I mean,
well, they usually have you usually have like with items like that, like there's usually like a description or maybe a proof of
like
authenticity, but whatever, like something. Because in some way it had to be advertised as real gold or as real. It had to be marked in like inventory or whatever. It's not just gonna be like a guy being like, well, that's real gold. And then you'd be like, oh, really? Because the fucking label says plated. So I don't know what to tell you.
I agree with you that if the guy could not afford to get what the girl wanted, then that wasn't the right kid. Yeah. This is exactly how I feel about like the women or the men or whoever that say like, oh, like I want to dress in designer. And like, I want to do like, I may think on my personal level that is extremely superficial and I'm not spending that kind of money on that kind of shit, but it is a status symbol. And if you want to look, if you already have like a prerequisite that you want to have that status symbol and I can't provide that for you, then guess what? We're not dating. Not because I know I may want to date you, but you won't choose me because I can't do that for you.
And I'm not
but
gonna
also
lie.
I feel like that's like, I think the point of like that whole conversation is to be like, you can't say like that person is wrong for having like these standards or for having these requisites. You know what I mean? Like 100%. It just means it's different. I think the problem becomes when people are like, well, I think that's wrong. Like, I think it's shallow or I think it's superficial that people want that. And I don't think that they should, where it's like, well, you're talking from insecurity. You're just saying that because then now you can get something that you want. And either way, it's like that person is already telling you that they are not like who they are, the things that they want are not what you want. So why do you want them so bad?
Right.
If they're not the right person for you anyway.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I disagree that it's coming from insecurity, but I do agree with everything else.
Not from your position. I'm talking about people who criticize it. Like people who would be like,
I criticize people that I deem as more superficial in terms of like things like designer, things like status symbols, but I criticize them more on a logical standpoint, not in the sense that like I'm insecure that I don't have it, or I'm insecure that I can't have you. I'm more so say like it's fabric. Like, yeah, sure. You know what I mean? Like it's clothes on your back and you're overspending whenever there's people.
And that goes back to this idea.
Fabric and whatnot,
yeah.
But
I feel like that goes back to the idea of gold and just like you just like it because it's pretty and it's limited. It's limited. Yeah. That's tying it back into the conversation of like you just like it because it's limited.
People in terms of price and in terms of what things are worth, the more limited it is, the more exclusive it could be.
Yeah. Even if sometimes it looks fucking dumb as shit.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter because I can guarantee you, even when it comes to designer stuff, like some of those, like it's not like good. Like which is the shoes that like blew up that had like the that Cardi B was talking about, like the shoes with the shoes that look like socks or whatever.
Oh, Balenciagas.
Balenciaga. Mm-hmm. Yes. So it's not like Balenciaga makes unlimited amount of those shoes. They will make a certain amount. That is all you get. Whoever has them, you're lucky. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's why they cost so much.
But you know what's funny?
You know what I mean? Whereas Vans, they will make however many white Vans as they need in order for... if people want them, they will get them.
That's a different... I mean, I get what you're saying, though. I agree to a certain extent, but I think specifically with fashion, that just goes to talk about like the difference between fast fashion and like fashion houses and whatnot, because the reason why they can do that is because they're manufacturing in countries where they're violating a lot of labor laws.
You mean fast fashion?
Fast fashion, which is like the whole issue with it. Whereas brands like Balenciaga, Versace, and all of that, like they cost so much because they're not necessarily cutting corners in the way that like other fashion brands are, because they're like, it's more about like the integrity of like the piece and like what they're making and the designs and all of that. Like they own all of those things and their factories and whatnot. So
I get that to some degree. I also think they're overvalued because the owners of those people are worth billions and billions of dollars. Sure. So it's not like you could do without some of that and cut some fucking costs.
And they could also just choose to make more. Like I understand they might not be able to make the same amount as these giant retailers that are going and making things in other countries and cutting corners with it, but they could still choose to make more, but that would make each of those products cost less. If you only make one of something, that one thing is going to cost a ridiculous more.
If you're making, if
there's only one of something, it costs a fuck ton.
If you're having to cut those corners so that you're not, so that the cost of manufacturing those things is lower. If you're not cutting those corners, then it's costing you more to create those things. So if you were making more, then you would have to make them even more expensive in order to like sustain the cost of like those manufacturers.
And the artist side of me then understands the fashion world to some degree because they also work in seasons.
Yeah, so like, that's also the thing. That's the difference between.
They will also say like, I am in the business of creating wearable art. Yeah. Because you are going to like the socialites of our time in the same way that Jackie Kennedy had a signature look and was dressed by whoever and that's like a monument to like the historical presence. That's how they operate. Gucci operates that way. Versace operates that way.
Vuitton that way because like you said, like fashion houses or like higher end fashion brands, they work with seasons and that's just the 4 seasons. Whereas like fast fashion works within like, I think last time I like looked it up, they have like 52 seasons in a year where it's like we're not supposed to be consuming clothes like that. Like we are not supposed to be buying clothes every week or multiple times a month. Like the point of like those fashion houses and stuff like that and the way that they produce fashion is that fashion is supposed to be like something where you're buying one item that you know it's gonna last you a long time as opposed to buying like 30 items in like one shopping spree. Despite like that is not the way that we're supposed to be buying in fashion, which is also why it makes more sense. And like I would think about it whenever I was like younger too, and I would be like, I can't believe that people pay like $200 for a pair of jeans. But that's because you're supposed to be buying like you should buy like the one pair of jeans that maybe it is $200, but it's gonna last you for 20 years or 30 years, and you know it's like something that you're gonna wear for a really long time, that is gonna be really durable, and that's gonna be like part of like your style, your closet, your wardrobe. Yeah. As opposed to buying like 7 pairs of jeans during the summer because it was like what's in right now, it's skinny jeans and I didn't have any. You know what I mean? Like that's also the difference. Yeah. I saw it more to a quick point about that in a little bit, but I saw it more in the terms of seasons because like a lot of these brands are trying to be iconic. That's why whenever you get to like the Oscars or the Grammys, people are asking who dressed you, you know what I mean? Because like a lot of when it comes to pop culture, a lot of what ends up being like styleful or iconic for the time, or like when you think back, like this is how people in the 1960s would wear or like would look or this and that, like all of that is monumental for them, and they're trying to move forward and also predict where things are going to go. So a lot of times in the moment, a lot of people are like, man, me included, I might look at something that's high fashion and be like, that's hideous, but they're trying to set themselves apart in terms of iconography, not in terms of like not in terms of like durability, or I'm sorry, not durability, not in terms of like the word that keeps coming to mind is like proletariat, like working class, like this is like what you would see. No, this is what you would see on an everyday kind of thing. Yeah,
like,
of course.
We're trying to
there's still fashion houses that are about like, I want to create fashion and I want to use it as like an art medium. Yeah, you know what I mean? I think just in general, like a lot of times,
even contemporary, like Virgil Abloh was like really big on like really straddling that contemporary and that high fashion side. Yeah. And like Off-White is fucking monumental. It is. You know what I mean? So 100%. Again, I don't think that I would participate in it, but I understand where it is that the mentality is coming from on an art level. I just also think that it's a little, it can be, and oftentimes will always be on the pretentious side. You know, and I don't think
really watch Devil Wears Prada.
I don't think there's.
I mean, I
love that movie actually.
Well, I feel like I understand that, but I also feel like,
I like it from
that
Meryl
comes
Streep.
from. I mean, I'm not speaking for you, obviously, because you know, like you have your opinion, and that's what like you have your reasons for thinking that. But I also think a lot of times people think that like, because they want to take this position of like being anti the thing, you know, and this idea that like if you give into fashion and if you give into all those things and like high-end brands and whatnot, then there is this like level of, like you said, like pretentiousness or like superficiality and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm not like I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are way more into fashion than I am, but I love I mean, I literally work in fashion and I work in retail and whatnot. And I do think that like I can appreciate now, like as I've gotten older, I understand why high-end brands are like cost what they cost and why they are, I don't want to say necessary, but what, like I understand why they exist, and I don't see it from a point of like, oh, you're just trying to charge $500 for a jacket, which is fucking ridiculous, because I understand, number one, the thought that goes behind it and the design and the work and all of that. But two, like I see fashion as like any other art expression, you know what I mean? And like there's a lot of different houses and a lot of different styles that are going to speak to you and like your personality and wanting to kind of like express yourself and like your personality and who you are and what you stand for or whatever through the clothes that you wear. Yeah. Especially being surrounded by people who do that, people who like, I see how they dress and I'm like, I get a sense of who you are. Yeah. I get it. It makes sense. And I don't see it from like a, oh, this is superficial, you just want high-end things. Of course, there's people that are just like, I just want the name. There's this guy, I'm going to drag you, and I'm sorry, I hope you never see this. There's this guy that goes through our store, and like, they literally just dress on like name brand stuff. And like, there's no thought process behind their outfits. Their outfits, no offense, their outfits are so bad. I like, you look at their outfits, and there's no like, thought process behind them other than like you can see the logos all over that shit. Yeah. So I understand that there's obviously people like that that are just buying something because they know that it's like exclusive and whatever. But I think the brands itself, like I don't think that's the point of them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I think that because or maybe not because we're in a free market, but because we can end up purchasing whatever we want. Yeah. I think there ends up being that overlap of like people that are regular people that go and buy a Hermes belt or something like that, and it's just like, you really shouldn't be buying that right now because one, it's not going to like yes, if the argument is I just want it, can't argue with you. Go for it. You know what I mean? But also, back to the iconography part, and we're watching Maisel, right? Like, and like that is such a great example because when you are, let's say, a socialite, or let's say you come from a very specific background, or you come from a very specific social group, or you come from a very specific financial group, like financial class, like there is a standard that you have to that you traditionally would live up to. But it's probably changed now because, like you said, there's a lot of different fashion houses, and there's probably like more tiers now. Yeah. Where it was like high fashion, and then like now there's probably more tiers in which you can probably fit into. But typically, this goes back to something that I would say before. Like, I'm not gonna buy a Rolex watch because a Rolex watch should come with, traditionally speaking, a lifestyle. And if you can't afford that lifestyle, then you shouldn't be wearing the watch.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I tend to lean that route because it works the same with like high-end cars. Like people will talk to you about high-end cars all the time. They're like, oh, they always have these problems. They always have this, all this other stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure they do. It's a fucking car. It's a box. And like it probably has electrical issues just like it has transmission issues, just like any other car. It's fine. But you're also buying it because it's you're not buying a G-Wagon because it's the best fucking vehicle that can move you around places in terms of like being a locomotive like vehicle and being like the prime engineering thing. No, you're buying it because it's a fashion, a status symbol, and because they probably hand stitch everything themselves. You're paying for like the exclusivity of like how they make everything, and because hopefully when you walk out of that goddamn car, you're gonna look the part also.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess I just don't feel like...
that all comes with it. That all comes with it.
I understand what you're saying. I mean, I guess, like, yeah, you can make that case for, like, specific things. Like, I don't know shit about cars. I don't know what the fuck a G-Wagon is. Like, I don't know where you fall on the rate. But I also don't think it's, like... I don't think it's fair to, like, go against people or, like, judge people because they want to have nice things. You know what I mean? Like,
No. Yeah,
if
that's
I
not what
am
I'm...
like, yeah, I might not necessarily like be able to afford the lifestyle of somebody who can like buy a Rolex like on a whim, but I like, if somebody working like a regular job wants to save up and buy a Rolex because it's a really nice, like, you know what I mean? It's like, do it. Like if that's what you want, if it makes you fucking happy, even if it's just because you think it's pretty, which probably not. Like if somebody doesn't have access to that kind of lifestyle already, there's probably a lot more thought process into their decision of like purchasing that than somebody who probably can just like spare the money.
Sure.
But even if it's just because they're like, it just looks really fucking nice.
Yeah.
Do it. Like, if that's what you want to do, fucking, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, just who cares? Even if it is just like, oh, you just want the status, do it. Like, that's fine. And I hope you get the status. Like, I just feel like it feels like a really weird thing
like,
to judge each other on. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like a really weird, like, if people want nice, and like, I'm cheap as hell. Like, don't get me wrong. Don't think of this as like, I am somebody that like, I'm really fucking cheap. I buy secondhand everything I own.
Yeah.
But I just think, if somebody wants to have nice things and they just like, if you're working for that fucking money or whatever and you're paying, like, who cares?
Yeah.
If I want to be dressed to the fucking nines, like what you're going to think, like a certain, again, it's about perception. It's like, you're going to think a certain way about me just because I want to wear like, I want that Chanel bag or like, I want to drive this car. It's like, I think that's superficial. It's like, don't fucking, because you're already creating like this perception of who somebody is. And even more than that, you're like you're deciding what you think their values are or like who they are as a person just because they want nice things.
But to your point earlier, there are people in all kinds of, it's not just fashion, just in all kinds of things that provide some sort of social status or social clout that only do certain things in order to get like what is it called? People call them like social peacocks, like where they get the flashy, big colorful thing, metaphorically speaking, just to get your attention, but they don't have the. There was like I used to see memes about it, about like men will have like a super fancy car, but like you know, have their television on the floor. And how that all of a sudden like brings them to like this kind of like standard or perception of them of like bro, like you really can't afford that, you should be doing other things, or like you don't have the whole package of it or whatever.
Even
right?
Back in, was it like in the Roaring 20s? I think it was that there was this big thing. There was a term that they even told us about that, like. It was like people would buy these homes, these very expensive homes and stuff, and then not be able to furnish them. Like they'd be like, I want the house for
broke
like the
is what it's called now.
Was it
like being house broke?
No, at the time there was a different term for like what they were,
like the phenomenon.
Yeah. There was this big thing of it that like these people would just you know, they would want to like either they would have the house already and then start to go broke because of like the depression and everything. And they would like sell off their furniture, but not want to actually give up the house. And they would just be like, oh, we're just not going to invite people into the house because we don't want them to see that we don't have furniture, but we want to keep pretending that we are living this lifestyle. I
see what you're saying. Yeah. House broke is what the terminology for somebody that buys a house but can't furnish it. Yeah. It's like they saved all this money up to buy this house, and they bought a house that is above their means, so now they can't furnish the house, and they're just sitting there with an empty house. Yeah. It's like at that point, their house broke or whatever.
I think the thing that drives me crazy thinking about like I can really now at this point in my life start to appreciate the idea of like well-made clothes and things like that. Like what you were talking about before of this idea of like you want to buy something and put in a little bit more money so that it'll last, right? Like good quality things. But I think when I look at like specifically when people like dress their kids in things that are very like designer or things like that, and like spending a lot of money on something. I'm like, we know those kids are going to outgrow that.
It seems frivolous to you.
Yeah. And like, even then thinking about myself when I was younger, whether it's the fact that maybe I stopped growing already, you know, and I was already the size, but I was in a place in my life that I was like not set on, like, I didn't know what kind of clothes I liked. I was jumping around. I was trying out different things. Now at this point, I can look and I can say like, oh no, I really like heels that are like this. Like I like this style of heel. And like, I've gone through multiple pairs of shitty heels that were like that just broke on me because they were shitty. And now maybe I want to invest in like a nice pair of heels that will last me instead of having to re-buy that heel, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it works the same in other parts of fashion. It's not just high fashion. Like, I'm a sneakerhead. So like, I there's like resale value there, and then there's like exclusivity. Like, they'll only make 200 pairs of this, and they'll only make like 100 pairs of that, and like that's why it costs so much. And like, people will go hard over that kind of shit, me included, depending on what it is. And I don't tend to see it. Where people would wear like the new Yeezys or the new whatever as like a status symbol, I may have like a very specific like a very specific thing aesthetic that I like and that I want, and I'll look for that. But it's the same mentality in terms of exclusivity, in terms of like,
How do you feel about people creasing their shoes?
I am one of very few people that I've ever met that I really believe that if you buy shoes, you gotta wear the fuck out of them.
Work.
You gotta like wear, but not just because that's what they were meant for, but because like like if you still decided to buy the 600 pair, like the $1,000 Alexander McQueen's all whites, you know what I mean? Like, you wear the fuck out of them. You still gotta walk around. You still gotta like do shit, like wear them. You know what I mean? I understand like with certain dress shoes, if you're trying to look sharp, like a whole bunch of like creases might, you know what I mean? So like I get you, but
like with Jordans,
yeah, like I don't buy into that. I don't typically wear Jordans anyway, so like I but like I'm a big proponent of like wear your things, like wear them, and specifically wear them out.
Okay,
like,
see, and that's different. I was about to say there was a guy that
not like wear them out in public. I mean like wear them out.
Yeah.
Like fucking
like
go to town with them.
Yeah.
There was a guy that he got big on social media because he shows him repairing shoes.
Yeah,
like repairing sneakers.
And that shit is crazy.
Yeah, and his thing is like a lot of the shoes that he's repairing, he's like, these shoes are this bad because somebody bought them and they never wore them, and it dries out the soles.
Yeah.
So he's like and he's
That's
like,
crazy.
you guys, you have to wear your shoes. Like,
yeah.
If you don't wear them and they sit in a box somewhere and they're
That's
never
not gonna
touched,
be better.
There are certain things that are very
up.
silly in terms like and to admittingly so, like I understand certain things about sneaker culture. I don't understand a lot of things about high fashion. So like you brought up the whole point about like secondhand stuff. I'm not downing on secondhand stuff because chances are that stuff is not in season. If you're a socialite buying the stuff that's in season, you're going to the place, you're spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on whatever it is that fucking Balenciaga came out that season, and that's what you're gonna be fucking wearing. You're not gonna find that at the secondhand store. So so go.
No, but that's the thing about also
town,
like
you know what I
high
mean?
fashion though, is like a lot of it is like timeless, and that's why you still see like
I still be worth
old
something.
but
like
like
the people
vintage
that
Chanel or vintage Versace or vintage whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's timeless. Because I mean, like I understand like being in season, but I also like trends recycle a lot, and I think the point of fashion is not about trends. Like the point of fashion is not for you to follow a trend or follow a season. The point is that you utilize it to express like who you want to be, like physically, like to the world, like how you want to present yourself to the world. So also in that way you can buy a lot of shit that is out of season, because if it's what speaks to like, if it's what's going to like portray you in the way that you want, then it doesn't fucking matter. That's
in terms of self-expression, I'm there with you.
You know what I mean? And I think that's also like why you have like all of those high brands or high-end brands or like really big names, like really expensive brands are so like there's a longevity to that because of the quality and whatnot. So now I can like, you can buy a fucking like Chanel dress from the 70s or from the 80s or whatever. I don't actually know when it was founded. So I don't know when the oldest would be. But I'm saying you can wear it and it's going to be in great fucking condition. I mean, obviously you have to care for them properly and whatnot. but you can still find that shit and it's gonna have value because you know you're gonna be able to keep it for even longer. You know what I mean? And it's not about like, oh, is that the trend right now? Like, it's, are we wearing skinny jeans or are we wearing cutouts or whatever? In terms of self-expression, it's about like, do I like that? Like, does that fit like my style or my aesthetic or whatever?
Yes.
And that's how we should be viewing fashion. Fashion has just changed so much that now it's very like, what's the trend right now? And that's why it's a problem.
And maybe I'm using trend in the right and the wrong way. I'm more so using it in the sense of like people that can afford high fashion, the things that are being put out every season. Those are very specific kinds of people. Those are very specific kinds of people that make a certain amount of money. And there is, maybe negatively so, maybe I'm wrong about this, but there is a stereotype to those people that they view that as a status symbol. I'm not talking about the self-expressionists that like will buy things that are timeless, agree with that can express themselves however they want and can just, you know, live their life.
I think the important part is that you are like automatically separating the two.
Yes.
And I don't think that they need to be. I think there are situations where obviously they are separated. Like, I'm not saying that there's not people out there that just buy Balenciagas because they are Balenciagas, you know what I mean? And they are $600. I'm not saying that, but I think obviously like it also speaks to like the fact that they have access to that, so they can like their choice is a lot easier than somebody who doesn't have like that kind of like.
And I think what I'm speaking to is the superficiality of people that don't have access to that, but will reach for that just for the appearance of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I feel like. I think,
like the
and
guy,
I could be wrong
like
about
the guy that will buy all of those things just to get your attention, so that you think he has money, but he doesn't have money.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That's the guy. That's the person that I'm like, you shouldn't be doing that.
The Anna
You're being superficial.
What's her name? Anna Delvey, right?
She shouldn't have been doing that shit at all.
Yeah. Who the hell is Anna Delvey?
Have you not seen Inventing Anna?
No, I've been meaning to.
You would like it.
Yeah,
maybe
I'll watch it tonight.
Yeah, well, it's 9 episodes, an hour long each.
I'll start it.
She was basically like pretending, like this girl that was pretending to be rich.
She was pretending to be an heiress. Yeah. But the interesting thing about that is that not only was she pretending to be an heiress, but she was doing it well. And the way they describe her is exactly what I'm talking about.
I feel like I know this story.
Certain people at certain status think about these things in a very different way. Not like regular working class people that are trying to be self-expressionists that just want to be like express themselves and how they feel in the moment. Like some of these people are like, they will look down on you for trying to for trying to like fake it, even down to mannerisms, to the way that to the kinds of like wines that you talk about, and like it's all class. It's all class up there. You know what I mean? So that has been that series has been enlightening because she is not an heiress. She's just a regular ass person.
Spoiler alert.
But you get that from the very beginning.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but
I feel like I've heard about this story, and because is it based on like a real story?
Yeah, it's based on a real story.
Okay,
it's based on a real story, and
because I feel like I remember hearing about the actual like real.
She's not
thing.
an heiress, but like the very first episode, every single person that describes her is like, you could have sworn she came from billions and billions and billions of dollars. Yeah. Because people that come from that kind of status operate a very different way.
I mean, there is like a lot of ways to like, that's also the thing about like status and like higher classes and whatnot, is that they do that purposely. Like they're the way that they behave, the things that they access, they do that purposely so that there can be a distinction.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? So that they're able to be like, I know you're not of our kind. 100%.
Yeah. And I was just more so speaking to the people that are more so like the peacocks. I have absolutely no problem with the people that just find something interesting, secondhand or not, and say like, this is how I want to express myself. More so talking about the people that will go out of their way for a very specific image just so that you can think that they are something that they're not. And,
that's fair. And
that goes for both men and women. Yeah. I've seen more men do it than women, because men are trying to get attention of women, and then women will be like, oh my god, you drive this car, oh my god, this and that, and I guess and that may say something about those women, but I'm more so, because I'm a guy, I more so look at the guy and I'm just like, come on bro, like if you can't do it off personality, you shouldn't be doing it.
Have you all seen the very dumb, like incredibly scripted videos that pop up on like Facebook and all of like it'll be a guy hitting on a girl, and the girl like, you know, tells him to go away, and like, you know, doesn't want,
and then
all of a sudden
they
he
pull
like
up with
walks
the
up
valet.
to a Porsche or something, and then
she's like, oh my God, is that your car? It's like, shut the fuck up. Nobody's fucking doing that.
This is not how interactions
Yeah, those are never
happen.
believable.
Don't.
Those are
But I feel like-
never
I feel like
believable.
Number one,
like-
those are never believable. Number two, nobody's fucking doing that. Number three, even if they are, it's like, well, you bought the car and now you want to fault her because she thinks that it's a nice fucking car. Shut the fuck up.
Well,
What are you talking about?
If that was true, she wouldn't be she wouldn't be bad, like wrong for thinking it's a nice car. She would be wrong because beforehand she didn't want to be with him in a busted ass car until she realized that it was a nice. Are those the videos you're talking about?
I have
Yeah, it's not
never
even in a
met
bus-
somebody
it's not
that wants to
even-
be with a broke ass bitch.
Well, like that's what I'm
it's not-
saying.
no,
That's not about being superficial. I just don't want to struggle in life.
It doesn't
Right.
necessarily, normally, at least the ones that I've seen, it doesn't show him like looking busted anyway. He just looks casual, normal.
Oh, okay.
And then when they
Yeah.
see that he has a good car, they're like, oh, he's rich. Like, let me go and
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
to like,
Because
you know.
I
I do
guess
think
what?
those women
I
exist,
feel
but
like
I think those
Sure.
videos are
I
fake.
feel
Super
like it's
exaggerated.
easier to make that case whenever it's like a man like going to a nice car because it's like, well,
And at the
again,
end, they
I
just
never
call her,
said
like,
I
a
wasn't a
gold digger or something
hypocrite.
like that.
But I'm like, well, yeah, before that, you were showing absolutely nothing to offer her. And now you are. It's like, what did you have to offer her before you had the nice car? And what we can assume is a steady income. You know what I mean? What, bad dad jokes? Nobody wants that. We're good. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's why I'm like,
I do believe women like that exist. That
Sure.
like, that
People like that exist everywhere.
That will only date a man for their money. But I do think those videos are hella fake.
Oh,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I don't think it happens in that kind of like drastic way. And the only reason I say that is because that audio is immaculate.
Yeah.
As a
It's like,
filmmaker,
where's her fucking microphone?
as a filmmaker, as in media, guys, I'm about to spoil you. Anytime you get like a video online of people far away on a busy street and the audio is fucking perfect, both of them are wearing.
Do you know what's funny to me? That actually normally isn't what's the deal breaker for me, because normally when I see videos like that, they don't even actually talk. It's like almost like the people like they'll talk, but there's normally like a song over it, so it doesn't actually show the audio
I've
of them
seen
talking.
no song.
And
I've seen no
yeah,
song.
I haven't seen with the song, but I agree because it's like, even if only one of you was mic'd, why are you both talking at the same volume level?
Right.
See,
That
I
is-
see-
that
Why
doesn't
can't I
check
hear the
out.
cars going through?
I'll
And why
see the
can't I
ones
hear
look-
the fucking birds? And why can't I hear anything? Like, but anytime you see a video like that, ladies and gentlemen, and the camera is clearly far enough away that those people
It's like
don't know
zoomed
that they're being
in.
recorded.
Yeah.
They are both wearing lapel mics
Well, and that's
underneath
what I'm
their
saying.
shirts.
So the ones with like the song over, it'll be like, let's say the guy taps on the girl's shoulder and like gives him her phone to like put her number in. She doesn't like do it. She walks away, and then she sees the car, runs up to him and tries to talk to him. Normally then I get confused because I'm like, you're trying to make this look like this is like a random normal interaction.
Right.
But you have like 4 or 5 cameras from different angles getting
Right.
them, like
Right.
close up shots on their face. Like I'm like, you're like changing angles and everything. Like, okay.
Yeah, fuck those videos. Those videos ain't shit. It just goes to show how much people are trying to get your attention online.
And it's
Speaking of all
crazy
how
that,
much
so
it
many
works.
people
And how
fall
much
for
it
it.
works. Like,
I'm
people
over here
really
I
watching
was
like
gonna
them
say
damn
how much
videos.
people fall for it.
Yeah, I mean, just our
I know it's
experience,
fake, and I'm
just
still over
our
here.
experience on this TikTok
Yeah.
fucking thing, like, and me just posting the fucking clip and
Crazy.
getting 160,000 people watching it. It's like, come on, man. Like, first of all, go watch the entire thing. Like,
Yeah, watch the whole video before you comment.
Shameless plug. First of all, go subscribe, go like the videos, go do that. Don't just do the TikTok thing. But goddamn, people just like the power of like how quick I can get your attention and keep it, and like jam-packed information,
Yeah.
and that's it, because that's all your attention span can last
Yep.
for. You know what I mean? But hey, everybody out here doing their thing, and
Do what you gotta do.
yeah.
But what I
for
think is
sure.
funny is, I mean, you talk about the fact that like that's all your attention span can get stuck on. So like these people are watching these like 30-second clips, but then they're commenting with like such strong opinions, and I'm like,
Right.
If you have more time to go and like put your strong opinion in there, go watch the full
No,
thing.
That's what I think is rooted in insecurity.
I get that though, because I mean, I never comment on people's shit because I never care enough to.
Yeah.
But I am the kind of person where I'm like, my emotions are very fleeting. Like I react to things
Ooh.
very passionately. Like you might tell me something right now, and me without having any like background information, I might immediately form an opinion on it and
We all
like
do.
have a very like
Yeah.
like what seems like an emotional driven like reaction, and then you can ask me 10 minutes later and I'll be like, I don't fucking care. What are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
And like people do that like to me, like they'll be like, oh, like you get angry really easily, or like you like people have this idea that I'm like a highly emotional person, and I'm like, oh, I don't care. I just react.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I do that more in person. I would never do it online.
Yeah, I never I can never
Because
imagine like commenting on like I don't comment on. If something pisses me off online, I just scroll past it.
If people comment things that are just passive, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It was just like you probably have some free time.
Even then,
but like if people comment things that are very strongly opinionated and very negative, in my mind, I'm like, that's probably rooted in some kind of insecurity. And I think about that almost immediately, because I'm like, out of everything that you have to do today, you want to spend the next 5 minutes talking to a stranger
That's what I mean.
about something so negative?
It's
like let it go,
I
man.
never feel strongly about anything online
Yeah.
enough to like comment on it.
Yeah.
Ever.
It's so funny
Ever.
because the opposite, if it's
Like
passive
I might
or if
comment
it's
on
a good
it
thing.
on my own page, I might like post something on like my Instagram story and be like, I was thinking about this today. And this is my
that's
opinion.
totally different. Yeah.
But I don't think I have literally ever commented on like someone's post and someone's videos or someone's
Never,
photo being like, you're wrong or I disagree or like ever.
I mean, I've definitely commented, not necessarily on like a random straight, like the person that originally posted it with like, 1,000 different comments on there and like arguing with people that I don't know. But like if I see a big topic right now with like Leah, the transgender swimmer.
The trans swimmer?
Yes.
Which all of y'all are bugging, by the way. All y'all conservatives, y'all tripping.
Who?
The trans swimmer. I can't believe you haven't heard about Leah Thomas.
Thomas. Okay.
Thomas, yeah.
With that, like I've seen a lot of people that have been posting stuff that are like friends of mine that like I'll argue like for that.
You're
but
getting this fucking work.
I also know
If I know you, if
Exactly. I
we're
will
mutuals,
comment,
you're
I
getting
will-
this fucking work.
exactly.
I'm swiping up for sure. Gotti? No.
Or even
I can't believe you haven't heard about this.
yeah, it's like become really big.
Yeah, it's
and
like
even
real
with
popular.
that, I also like held my tongue until I actually got more information on it.
Smart
like I'm not
smart
just
on your
looking
part.
at like the very and like I have an opinion the first time that I see it or read about it or something,
Yeah.
and I'll feel a certain way about it. But I'm like, this is the first time I'm seeing this. I'm not going to go and put like, 100% into it. Again, if it's in person and we're having that conversation, then I'll be like, oh, well, this is how I feel, in the moment.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go and put that online and like,
Do you? The quick question. It has nothing to do with that specific
Yeah.
thing, but just in the abstract. Do you? And this goes for you too. Do you automatically? Actually, I think I know the answer for you.
What?
But do you? When you think about something, when you form an opinion, do you automatically think you're right, or do you automatically think you're wrong?
I think
I mean, I don't automatically like set on something.
Okay, interesting.
Like not right away. Like if I'm forming an opinion about something, then I'm like, well, I need some time to think about my actual opinion.
Oh,
because in that moment I have a limited amount of information.
Okay.
You know?
So that's smart.
I think,
That's smart.
well, with that being said, I don't think I ever think that I'm wrong in the opinion. I think either that I think I'm right or that I don't have enough information yet. So like, I'm like, this is kind of how I feel, but I don't have enough information to really settle on it. But I don't think I ever like look at something and I say like, oh, this is how I feel about this, but I think I'm wrong.
I tend to think I'm wrong first. I tend to tell myself, if you're wrong, how would you be wrong? Figure it out. Figure out how you're wrong. And it usually happens in real time and really quickly. And oftentimes I'm like, oh, okay, I can't figure out how I'm wrong. So then I must be right. And then I go forward. But I will try very, 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 very hard, like the hardest that I possibly can, to try to like prove myself wrong first. And then afterwards, my opinion will be like not set in stone, but like my opinion will be my opinion. And I would still know that it's a subjective opinion.
Yeah.
But I will try my best to try to prove that I'm wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because if there is a flaw in there, then I gotta like work it out because if I can't work that out, it's just my way of like rationalizing the argument. Like if I can work that out and then prove that I'm right still, then whenever people challenge me on it, I'll know where to go.
Yeah.
I'll know how to like, I've already thought about this.
No, there are
You know what I mean?
definitely things that I know that like somebody might be able to work me into a circle with it, but I just know like moral wise, like that's just wrong. Like, and I know that's wrong. I know that's fucked up. And you might try to work me in a circle with it, but
That's a good point.
At the end of the day, like morally, I just know that this is where I stand on this point.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah, it's more like a non-negotiable moral non-starter.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, that's fair. So anyway, you were making the point about you were seeing the
With the trans swimmer.
the trans swimmer, you were seeing it, and you commented on what?
Oh, well, I even didn't comment yet on my friend's stuff.
Yeah.
Because at that point, again, I seen it and I was like, actually, my point has changed already from it. Because when I first seen it, there is this initial reaction that is what has been put out there.
Well, first off, it's clickbait off top.
Yeah.
Like, it's clickbait off the top. So anytime it's clickbait, I'm like, I'm not paying attention to this until I get more information.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah, there's like this big thing about basically that, like, you know, she's a biological man, so it's not fair and things like that. So because of that, the initial like reaction from our society is like this, like even if you're for trans people and trans rights, that like, oh, well, how is it fair for like a biological man to compete against women? Like physically, it's not a fair thing. And then I realized looking into it more, that's not really what's happening, and that's not the case because they do have different like ways to go about things like this.
100%.
Yeah, because they paint the picture at the beginning as if a guy just walked in and like started swimming.
Which is what people love to do about like trans people's like issues. They love to pretend they love to pretend that like these people just like woke up one day and they were like, today I'm going to start identifying as the opposite gender.
Right.
And then like I'm just going to like walk into a fucking swimming pool and do that.
Yeah.
Which is never how it fucking happens.
Absolutely not.
But also, I was talking to Brenda about this recently, and we were like, specifically in sports and specifically in like physical performance kind of things, it's always so insane to me, the argument made against transgender people, because the whole point of being an athlete is that you have a biological advantage over other people. That has never been an issue in the past.
That's an interesting point.
Michael Phelps has a biological advantage over every other man in the world.
Simone Biles has a biological
like he was born
advantage,
he was born, I don't even, what is it? Like his lungs, like he can breathe in more fucking air or some shit.
He can oxygenize his blood a lot faster.
That is a biological advantage.
Yeah.
Nobody is calling for Michael Phelps. I don't know how to fucking say his last name. Whatever the fuck his last name is. I'm not American. I don't know how to pronounce your last names. Nobody's calling for him to give up his fucking like Olympic medals. Yeah.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like LeBron, like basketball players have a biological advantage. Yeah. If you are 6'7", so you're telling me that somebody who's like 5'2" is gonna be like, well, that's not fucking fair.
Right.
They're so fucking tall.
Like, bro,
that's not fair. They have an advantage over me. It's like that is what sports is. That is what sport. That's what being an athlete is.
Yeah.
But now you have a problem with that because they identify as the gender that they identify with.
But they actually also started doing that with. There were. Was it an African American woman that was a runner? I believe in the Olympics, that, like,
and
they
they
were
disqualified
saying that,
her
like,
for having too much testosterone.
Having too much testosterone, and it was a black woman.
I get, is it a coincidence that it just happened to be a black woman? That's where you are going to like establish the rules.
Again, I read that title, But again, that also felt like clickbait. So I would have to know exactly what happened in that.
That happened like a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the same bullshit where it was like, well, that's not fucking fair. Like, they're just built different. It's like, yeah, that's what being a fucking athlete is like.
Right.
What are you mad about?
And I'm going to make the same point on both sides. Whenever the trans swimmer clickbait title came in and I was like, yo, that sounds like clickbait, I'm not going to buy into that. I did the same thing whenever they called racism on that black athlete.
But the
because the clickbait title says it's because she's black, and I'm like, I don't know anything about this specific situation, so I'm not even gonna comment or like unless I know exactly.
That has also happened to Serena Williams.
Yeah,
they mention it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, again, I don't know. I'm completely uneducated about all those things.
She has like more of like they love to talk about how she has more of like a masculine build and like all this shit.
Sure.
Which is like,
I have more of a masculine build.
People are not doing that shit to white athletes. Yeah. You're not fucking doing that shit to white athletes. And I'm sorry, but it doesn't take me knowing that it's like a clickbait title for me to fucking know that. Because if it was, then I would see also clickbait titles for other white athletes, but we don't.
Yeah,
you only do that shit to black athletes.
I'm trying to think of
I'm trying to think of with all the trans topics coming up, somebody posted a picture of a white female swimmer who she was also built like very
Caitlin Ledecky or whatever.
And they were like, that's not fucking fair. And they were like, hey, that's a cisgender woman. So get fucked.
That was Ledecky. I did see that a little bit. The last thing, did you say white athlete? The only thing I think about when it comes to controversy is that Lance Armstrong got his shit taken away.
What the fuck is that?
But that was for drugs.
Yeah, that was because he was enhancing his body.
Right.
Yeah. That's the last time. I'm not saying that's an example of like of clickbait. That's just the only thing that comes to mind.
If we're talking about the point, it's like nobody makes a fucking
drugs.
What was that?
There was the white female woman that they found drugs in her system that were performance enhancing drugs, and they still allowed her to compete. I think it was in bobsledding or it was the Winter Olympics. It was the Winter Olympics. And just previously in the Olympics right before is when the runner Shikari. Yeah. Shikari had just gotten kicked out
for weed.
Not a performance enhancing drug.
Right.
Let me look up the name of the woman that was allowed to compete.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like, you don't have a problem with any. These issues are never issues until they can be attached to like a marginalized group or a member of a marginalized group.
Yeah, I do.
And that's
see
where
that.
I'm like, I don't like. No, like, shut the fuck up, because you don't fucking have a problem with that. Like, Brie just fucking brought it up. You put a picture of a cisgender woman who has the same biological advantage as a transgender woman, and you seem to have a problem with that until you find out that they don't identify transgender and they're just biologically women.
When I saw this topic, I was like, maybe we could talk about it. Maybe we could talk about it on the podcast and just dive into it. But I didn't even let myself get there because I realized one thing. And this is not a generalized statement or an absolute for all of women's sports, but I personally don't give a fuck about women swimming.
Well, that's also the thing.
That's why I was like, why am I all of a sudden going to get up in arms about something that I don't give a fuck about?
Exactly. That's also what people were saying. Like, I was just looking it up, and people were being like, people don't give a fuck about women's sports. You'll never pay attention to that shit, but let a transgender woman compete, and all of a sudden you're up in arms like about it.
I'm pretty sure the people that are up in arms about it don't give a fuck about women's sports.
You don't give a shit about that.
I would love to hear if a professional swimmer had a problem with it. I would love to hear what happens after that.
But even that, I wouldn't. Even that, I wouldn't. Because what qualifies you to have a problem with that? That you're a swimmer? That all that tells me is that you're a swimmer that doesn't have the biological advantage that you say that they have.
But at the very least, I would be like, I'd like to see that interaction.
Well, here's the reason.
I'm not saying she's right. I'm just saying that it would pique my interest. Whenever other people that have never showed any desire or need or want or advocacy for women's sports, I'm like, I don't even want to hear it. I don't even want to hear it from you.
Now,
which is why I didn't say anything.
I feel like at this point, because of the debate that has happened, now people that have an opinion on trans rights, like have a place to talk about it, because this is a topic of trans rights at this point. Before, I don't think it was like there wasn't a reason to bring it up.
Is it a topic of trans rights? They're letting her swim.
But people are calling for her not to.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but
people are trying
but
to.
But the IOC already said that she can do it.
Sure, but even like
and
I
they're not going to hold it back.
Like some of like her teammates were like trying, or like some of them were like calling for other like
governing
competitors,
bodies or
competitors to just like boycott it and like not compete against her and stuff like that. Where it's like. Even
sure, they can do that,
but here's the thing: it's that it doesn't fucking matter, because that shit wouldn't be fucking happening if she was cisgender. Even if it's not ruining her fucking life, imagine the emotional and mental toll that's taking on her. Being like, I don't know if my career is going to end tomorrow.
Yeah, that is tragic.
Even if we are saying like this organization said that it's fine, it doesn't fucking matter. You have an internet like campaign against her, and that can change things at any fucking point. Sure. Even if this organization said we're gonna let her, what happens if tomorrow they say we're not gonna fucking let her?
Here, look, I just looked up. So Mississippi signed a bill on Thursday to bar transgender women and girls from competing in women's sports.
And also, these are
states moving towards trying to do that. So unless you start to be, even though it's not happening to this specific woman, there are still going to be other transgender people that are starting to be affected by it.
That goes, but I'm gonna go ahead and you use your point about those two things being two different points. That Mississippi bill was probably already in play way before this thing already even happened.
The point is that those
two things aren't correlated.
But they are. Because the point is that this issue is aiding that bill. And it's aiding states that are still trying to pass bills like that. Sure. And at the very least, it's giving people this like empowerment to advocate against transgender rights. Yeah. It doesn't fucking matter if it's not happening. I hope it doesn't fucking happen to her. Me too. Yeah, I hope 100%. It doesn't affect her. But at the very least, it's going to affect her emotionally and mentally. Yeah. That takes a fucking toll on you. Yeah. And beyond that, like, these are issues.
Aside from the fact that she was probably already going through her own identity crisis beforehand, coming out as trans. And all of that entails. You know what I mean? Even before the competitiveness and the swimming.
The
and the
reality
career,
is that even if that is a bill that already there is every day different government entities are working against transgender rights, are working to strip transgender people from their rights. Issues like this just add to the fucking fire. So look, they just highlight specifically what these issues are.
Yeah.
At least 7 states proposed anti-trans bills in the first week of 2022. Republican lawmakers in Arizona, Alabama, Indiana, Kentucky, Oklahoma, New Hampshire, and Dakota introduced at least 9 measures that target trans and non-binary youth, such as their ability to participate in sports, receive gender-affirming care, or use the bathroom. And that's also something that's actually happening in Texas currently as well, that they're trying to pass the bill.
Yeah, the only thing I was saying is to be careful about the wording of this trans swimmer is happening, therefore this bill is happening. Like those bills were already in play.
Not at all. You know what I mean? But people
That's
are
the only
saying,
thing that I was saying.
People are arguing about this, and some people want to dismiss it as being like, oh, there's people that like, this is not a real issue. This is not a real thing. People are just complaining. It is a real thing. There's literally states right now that are trying to pass legislation
in that sense,
to strip transgender people from
with
their
you,
rights.
Yeah, 100% with you there. I didn't even get to the point of formalizing like a full out thought and opinion about this, because the only women's sports that I care about is like maybe 2 or 3. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not even like, I don't have the energy or the qualifications to even go into what it would take for me to formalize an actual legitimate educated opinion about swimming, let alone women's swimming, and then the history of it, and this, like, I don't, like, you know, so I just left that. I just left that alone. Yeah, because
and that's why I mean, the whole reason it was even brought up was to talk about the fact that
also the fact that so many people are talking about how like at the competition before she came like 8th It's like,
Yeah.
this is not somebody that's racking up fucking medals,
And
bitch.
when she did win,
Right.
This is not
she
a thread.
won.
Yeah, that-
Like, the next
I read-
person
I
was
read
The
that too. I
one
skimmed of
time,
it.
the one time that she wins in how many competitions, you'll have a problem. Take your fucking L.
Yeah.
Take your L. You're a bad swimmer. Go to practice.
Train harder.
Train harder.
But
don't
I
know what to
again, I
tell
don't
you.
even think it was the swimmers that were upset. I think it
No,
was.
there was
Yeah.
a there,
it was-
Yeah, there's
the
a
person
picture.
who came second to them
she was
was
tripping?
tweeting
See,
about
this,
it
thi-
and
thi-
tripping,
This just goes
bro.
to show how much I don't know about what's going. Because I was like, I don't. The people that I saw in an outrage about it were the people that don't care about women's sports.
There's
so I was
no-
like, I'm not
that's
even
how
gonna
it
go.
became a thing. I think it's because her, like, I don't know if it's her teammate, but somebody who, like, whoever lost to her and didn't make it to like the finals or whatever was like tripping about it, being like, I should have been number one. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you shouldn't have be born again then, bitch.
Never mind. I take that back. The only people that I saw tripping were conservatives, and I'm like, whatever.
There's a picture of
I'm not tripping,
the I think the person that came in second, third, and fourth all like huddled together on their podium together, like taking pictures together, and then like Leah's by herself
Yeah.
and like nobody's like congratulating her. She's like by herself, and like people are like, there was also a post saying that she was like booed after
really?
winning. And
Well,
like people couldn't
that-
accept the fact that like she
that
won
would suck.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that felt.
That's
nuts.
fucking
You
awful.
still won though, so take your W.
It's like,
Hey,
grow
take that
then,
gold,
bitch.
baby. Take
Make
that
it-
gold. Take that
like-
gold. That doesn't really fucking mean anything, but our
per,
society.
per our conversation earlier. Take the gold that don't mean
man.
shit. That's not real. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I am absolutely clueless about this. I have seen it in the ether, in the zeitgeist of society, but the only person
That just goes along with what we were saying earlier. If you don't know what you're talking about, shut the fuck
Yeah.
up.
Forming your opinions towards.
Yeah,
Shut
yeah,
the
yeah.
fuck up.
And again,
Shut the fuck
I feel
up.
like here,
I'm not
here
even
in
sure I would say something in it if it was happening in like male sports. I'd be like, you know what? They're getting
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, like I don't
But
fucking
here,
know.
having it happen again, if it's in a conversation like this, we have to be more careful because we're on a podcast.
Yes.
It's being recorded. It's being posted.
Yes.
But like, if we were having this conversation just in a bar and whatnot, you could be like, "Oh, what's happening?" and then hear about it and be like, "Oh, well, this is kind of how I feel
You can
right
form
now."
an
You know,
opinion, yeah.
and form an opinion in that moment. But again, putting it online and like putting it in a comment without looking into anything but that one post that you've seen is like,
It could be problematic.
Yeah.
It could be problematic because
gotta
you
go learn
haven't
yourself
fully
something.
like educated yourself on it.
I don't know.
and then-
You said there was issues about people criticizing a transgender female swimmer winning, and I smell bullshit. So I was like, listen, I'm not saying I'm
Yeah, you can-
forming my opinion right now, but I'm saying I think y'all are gonna be fucking wrong.
Yeah. And to that point, I haven't looked into any of the details, but the only people that I saw fucking in an uproar about it were conservatives, and I was like, I don't take y'all seriously right now anyway.
Y'all
And when
wanna
it comes to this
save
kind of
women's
shit,
sports, give them more fucking
yeah,
funding.
get the
then.
fuck out of here. Like, you know, I'm not buying it. And the only reason I say that is because the way that I consume my media, I have two accounts. I have a conservative one and I have a
You know what we need to
liberal
talk
one.
about? We need to close out on this, and then we need to talk about this in the next episode.
Okay, go.
We have a black Supreme Court justice
Coming
A
up,
black
baby!
woman
Coming
Supreme
up!
Court
And the way, first of all, the way they did you was dirty, and we're gonna talk about that next time. If you want to,
fuck Tucker Carlson. You can honestly go fuck yourself. Tucker Carlson.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
one of the
fuck you,
correspondents.
dog.
Shut the fuck up. Wanting to see her LSAT fucking scores as if she didn't go to fucking Harvard undergrad and law school.
all of
Sit
those
the fuck
fucking
down.
conservative pundits
The
are fucking full of
way-
shit. Working class, my
the
ass. Whenever your
way-
daddy's rich boy.
If you had gone to undergrad in Harvard, then you went to law school at Harvard, you had served in different courts for, I don't know, like 20, 30 years. I don't even know how fucking long. And I had to sit at my Supreme Court nomination
And get questioned of your
and get
LSAT scores?
questioned about whether or not I think babies are racist, and asking people like fucking
Yeah,
asking
Cruz
me
asked him about
questions
CRT, right?
about whether or not I would be offended if I got accused of sexual assault. I would become a criminal. I would literally commit like international crimes. The way
I would
that
commit international crimes inside the country.
outside the country. The way that she had the power of this like composure throughout the entire thing when
You are
she
a fucking
shouldn't
queen.
have.
I like how you started
When
off by saying we
she
have to close this out and we're going to talk about it
Shouldn't
on the
have.
next
Oh, we're
I
gonna
just
go
say-
into it
no,
again.
we're gonna finish
We
this
gotta-
real
we
quick,
gotta
but
have
I
a
just
full
have to
conversation.
say we don't fucking deserve her. But I am fucking glad that we have her.
You are
Oh, yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
are beautiful. You are gonna be exactly
Brilliant.
what we needed.
You are
what we
brilliant.
Need. And don't worry, we'll talk about it next time for sure.
fucking worries. We'll come in with a
because you are a godsend. And I'm not even
Absolutely.
religious, but you are a godsend. You are the most overqualified person in that
In
room,
history.
in any room, probably
Probably
for the rest of your life.
100% of the fucking Congress.
RBG is gonna be proud.
Yes.
RBG wishes. Anyway,
Ruthless,
ruthless.
ruthless Bader Ginsburg.
Anyway, that's it. We talked about a lot.
All right, let's go. Bye.
Good night.